We got a great show today, ladies and gentlemen. It's Major Championship Week, so we do a ton of PGA Championship talk, from whether or not we like or dislike the fact that they're going to a venue that they play on tour every year. Some of us like it, some of us don't. The PGA Championship, could it have a different type of identity? Where does it rank? We also are very high on the PGA Championship. We've had phenomenal finishes lately. We love that it moved to May, so we got a ton of championship talk, including players, picks, a lot of fun stuff, and big developments in the world, from popes to new members of the Foreplay family, extended family. So it's a nice show today, brought to you by Chevy.
Yeah, a lot of Jordan Spieth talk, a lot of Rory talk, a lot of Scottie talk, a lot of Pope talk. Then at the end, we do some travel stories that are really fun. So yeah, it's a packed show. It's a packed week. We're in person, which is great. And
in person's great.
So much
Nice
so
to
much
see
fun.
You guys. Nice
and
to feed off your energy.
It's all thanks to Chevy.
Athletic, bold, commanding. The Equinox EV helps you show up in style. Leave the driving to Equinox EV and show up to the course energized with available Super Cruise hands-free driver assistance technology. Equinox EV has a massive 17-inch diagonal center screen, the largest of any EV in its class. All of this great stuff is brought to you by Chevy. When it comes to EVs, Equinox EV is the smartest choice you can make. Let's talk some major golf. Two-time award-winning PGA Professional Cody Frankie, Beef.
That's right.
That is nice.
We got no awards.
I've never even been nominated for an award.
I don't even think there's awards in our world. Really?
No, there's not. Our world doesn't really exist.
It really kind of doesn't, which is interesting.
Foreplay, presented by Barstool Sports. Gentlemen, it is Major Championship Week. We got some huge announcements in the world. It's myself, Trent, and Beef, Cody Frankie, who is actually our PGA Professional member, and it's PGA Championship Week. So happy PGA Championship Week, Beef.
Thank you. This is one of the best weeks of the year. PGA Championship is something dear to my heart, kind of like Augusta, where everybody who's a member is wearing green jackets and helping the entire field. This is all put on by the PGA of America. So beautiful week.
Damn, I love that. You and I were talking about a couple things earlier that I want to get into. People probably don't realize what the PGA of America does outside of just putting on the PGA and the Ryder Cup and all that. Before we get to all that, Frankie Borrelli, we have welcomed, and again, we're not going to step on those toes. I want Frankie to talk a lot about it when he returns. He hasn't slept in like a week, so he's not here yet, but it would be remiss if we didn't welcome to the world Frank Joseph Borrelli IV.
Yes, congratulations to the Borrellis. We were just kind of waiting around. I know they were waiting around. We were all waiting around for the text of because nobody knew, boy or girl. Ended up being a boy. So yeah, congratulations to them. Very, very exciting. Yeah, Frankie has not slept. That's the report. So he's not on this podcast, but we're very happy for them. Seems like everybody's healthy. Everybody's good.
Huge.
And yeah, I saw, Frankie's putting out photos here and there. I saw the one of Mr. Borrelli hugging Frank III. They created Frank IV. That's just an exciting time in the Borrelli family for sure. So happy for them.
Yeah, and special for it being Mother's Day weekend too. And,
yeah.
and right,
100%.
Hannah healthy, baby healthy. Happy Mother's Day.
I'm proud of Frankie, and I'll say this to him when he's on the next time, and I'm sure he had doubts that he could create a male heir, but he did it.
Insane. I think he really may have tricked the universe with all of his concerns about his feminine forehead and his legs.
Yeah.
And all that. He tricked the universe kind of and ended up delivering in his first attempt a male heir, which is huge, carrying on the Borrelli name. I had a hunch it was going to be a boy. My mom and I would talk about it quite a bit. She'd be like, what do you think? And I had a hunch. There's signs that I don't remember about. I can't remember exactly his shape or the way that I had kind of heard, and my mom had been kind of whispering as she listened to the show that things I've heard throughout my years making me lead to believe it's going to be a boy. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
No.
But for him to deliver a male heir is, I think from the guy's vantage point too, nice to get that out of the way.
Yeah, and it does send ripples throughout our whole world. Like my mom was very interested, like you were saying. My sisters were very interested. I was just back home this last weekend. We were talking all about it. So overall, just very happy for them. And yeah, that's exciting. Frankie's a dad.
Fourth generation of Frank Borrelli.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Frank Joseph Borrelli IV.
Is that still, I don't know how many thirds and fourths I've run into. Frankie is he's the third. And I don't know if none of my buddies in my friend group are in that lineage where it's we're carrying the name. That I feel like it doesn't happen that much anymore.
No, and I remember even meeting Frankie and finding out he was the third, being I don't really know many thirds even. I know a junior. Now there's a fourth. You start to get up to a fifth, or that's you're an English royalty dynasty or something. Like those numbers are starting to get ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think
Ford.
like 100 years from now, there's gonna be a Frank Joseph Borrelli the 10th.
Right.
Frankie X, you know what I mean? Like
just-
there's
Right.
gonna be.
Just keep it going. Just
Or you get like a rebellious one down the line that's like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going that route.
Oh, that would be
That'd be
sad.
heartbreaking.
Nightmare. That'd be
That'd be
a horrible
heartbreaking.
nightmare.
Frankie's a bit of a rebellion in his. He gave up the pizza shop.
Wow, he did.
Not the pizza shop, the Italian restaurant on Long Island.
Pizza
It's a
shop.
great establishment. I don't know why I
Gave
said
it
it
up
like
there.
that.
Well,
Well, you
Go
said,
boy.
you said it so
place.
weird that
No,
way.
no,
I mean,
no.
like it was like
I
just
love
give
that
up the
place.
pizza shop.
Borrelli's Italian restaurant, 70 years this year.
It's a random derogatory
We're
shot
talking about
at the-
bloodline lineage, and you're like, yeah, pizza shop gave it up, whatever.
70 years? Yeah, 70 years. 70
Yeah,
years.
70, right?
Yeah.
1950
So and
something?
he kind of Frankie did his own thing. He got hired at Barstool, and obviously the rest is history.
Is it Laredo that's been slinging the pies?
He's the
there
pizza
forever?
maker. Yep. And there's a Frank Borrelli the fourth running around. So that's very, very cool.
Very exciting. It was May 8th, 2025, 9:30 p.m., 8.9 pounds, 22 inches. And like Trent mentioned, everybody appears to be healthy. Shout out to Hannah, who's apparently, I was with Cal Clutterbuck, FaceTime Frankie on whatever that was, Friday morning. Just Frankie went through it really quickly and just said that she was an absolute warrior.
Yeah.
Battling through labor. Said there's quite a few tears, but everybody's good, healthy, and yeah, congratulations to the Borrellis.
Absolutely.
More big news in the world. And I got to be honest, I thought about this a lot. This is momentum for the American Ryder Cup team that we have not had, it feels like, in about a year, that we really needed. And that is the announcement of the first ever American Pope. We've got Pope Leo. Never once happened. I feel like we, and I wrote a lot of this down, we as the American Ryder Cup team this year have been up against it. Outside the fact that we've got Captain Keegan and we're home and Bethpage, we got Rory McIlroy, who's just a serious problem.
Yeah.
We got Ludwig Aberg, who won this year. We got Victor Hovland, who won this year. We've got the classics on that team, like John Rahm, who's never not finished inside the top 10 on Live, and it's just always a problem no matter what. We got Thomas Dietrich, who won the Phoenix Open this year.
Yeah.
We got Sepp Straka, who just won again, who it's a little bit of BS, and he's an American guy who just plays for Europe, basically.
Got a southern accent.
Like Georgian, right? He sounds like kids.
He does. He really does. It's crazy.
Sergio, who's been playing pretty damn well. Tommy Fleetwood, Justin Rose, Tyrrell Hatton. This Rasmus Hogard guy is a problem.
Shane Lowry, who's been there
Shane
multiple
Lowry,
weeks.
been playing great golf.
Yeah.
And all these wins racking up. Rory's playing the best golf of his career, probably. It's just felt like, and then on the other side of it, don't get me wrong, Scottie's still Scottie, but he hadn't won this year until his last start when he won by $1 trillion. Xander hasn't been as sharp this year as he was last year. JT, thankfully, is making a nice resurgence. He's one of the best players in the world again. But you look at like the Rickies and the Spieths and Cantlay, and it's just like not a ton of juice compared to this European team that's una familia off their documentary.
I know.
They're coming off. And I just thought, now that we've taken Pope from them, that just feels like a European thing. The Pope should be European. This guy went to Villanova, grew up in Chicago. He's probably playing beer pong in college like a couple decades ago, and now he's the Pope. That's big for the USA.
I'm so dumb that I think if you had asked me, can the Pope be American a month ago, I would have said no.
Absolutely not.
I had no idea. And he's a Chicago. You're a Chicago guy.
Yeah, he's a White Sox fan, so we
I
got
know.
at
Is
least
that
one
true?
knock against
Yeah.
him. Yeah, he's a
They
White
were
Sox
saying
fan.
there were clips of the 05 White Sox.
Yeah, he
going
was-
around
he was
the World
there.
Series. Like he's at these games, and it's like that's the Pope, man.
But yeah,
I don't. Again, I'm so dumb, so people can laugh at me, whatever. I just thought when you're the Pope, or if you're up for the Pope and you end up getting the job, like you've just sort of been in the Vatican the whole time.
Yeah. You were born in like a chalice. That's,
Right.
That Michelangelo was like dipping his paint into, or something.
100%.
Like,
The I mean,
you're not from Chicago.
That's why but this is why the internet is the best. Like them showing, like, because when he gets picked, the white smoke goes up and he walks out onto that balcony. People were playing Chief Keef.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it was a great
that
meme day
is,
for
like,
Chicago
so
Pope.
internet to me that it was so
Uh-huh.
funny. But I'm with you, man. It feels like, the power has sort of swung in our direction now that the Americans have the Pope.
Yeah, Team
We needed
USA
that.
has His Holiness, so we love it.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's so good.
We needed that. From what I understand, with all the politicking that goes on and however many cardinals there are, there's like hundreds of cardinals that do all the picking or whatever, the conclave. And for an American Pope to come out of that, I thought, you have kind of this, you kind of have this understanding as an American that in general, the world is like kind of against Americans a little, just like not not necessarily trying to attack us, just kind of like, fuck you guys up on your big hill.
Yeah.
And you think you're the best, and you've got all the startups and all the big tech companies, and you've got Hollywood, and you've got the Olympics, you got all this stuff, and it's like you got the military, you've got the loud president now, and it's like F you guys, just generally. So to go in that room and have them come out and be like, we're going to go with the American guy, I feel like is shocking.
Yeah, we've always had the power, right? That's usually the big thing that Rick is talking about here.
Right.
Is like the United States has been the global superpower.
Well, only at the top.
We also
People,
now are the religious global superpower as well.
Right. It did make me feel better just in general about America.
Me too.
And that's just, we got the Pope.
We got the Pope, dude. We got the Pope.
And he's Chicago. I don't know why that makes me so happy.
He's like a Midwestern guy.
Just a Midwest Pope who just like walked into that room and was like, I'm the Pope.
What do they call it on Lake Michigan? They call it like the playpen or something.
Playpen out there, yeah. You take boats out there, hang out.
I could see him going out on a boat when he was younger and like the playpen out there.
You see just a 22-year-old Pope Leo hanging out on the North Shore of Chicago.
What I mean, that's why I was so surprised, like that he was from Chicago. And I mean, think about it. In however many generations or decades, there's going to be a Pope that like had a weird TikTok account that never took off.
Yeah.
Like a cooking TikTok that never took off. And it's like, we're going to have a digital footprint for the Pope in like 50 years.
That is so true.
And I don't know how old this Pope is, but he
69.
Okay, so
he'll be around for a while.
We got a chance for at least 20 years.
Yeah, he's going to have a good run.
You know what I mean? Like,
we were looking that up because when it was announced, we were all, the Pope it's sort of like the royal family a little bit in England. The Pope is just interesting no matter what you're religious. Very interesting. You can't not be into it. So we were looking it up, and Pope Francis, rest in peace, he was the Pope for like 12 or 13 years, and we thought it was way shorter than that. We thought it was like 6 years.
Yeah, it felt shorter than that.
Yeah, when he was like the cool progressive Pope, and he rode the bus and all that stuff. And I remember reading about all that, and people were like, oh, he's the cool new guy. All right, he's South American. He was the first ever South American Pope, and he was the Pope longer than you think. He was Pope for 12 years. I think he was like late 80s or so when he passed away a couple weeks ago. And this guy's 69. I mean, he looks like we were with a big group of people. So we had like 5 or 6 girls with us and couples. Even the girls were like, he's kind of like a cute, handsome Pope.
You got a handsome Pope.
Yeah, just a nice Midwest handsome guy.
Yeah, normally, you get it's old people who are up to be the
Very
Pope.
old.
So you can get a varying degree of how old this person
They're usually
looks.
wheeling them out there from the very beginning.
There's some sores on their face. It's just how it happens when you get old. But he's a young, good-looking American Pope. I think we're pumping his tires because he's American. If he wasn't American, I don't think I'd be pumping his tires.
I wouldn't have brought it up.
Right. Because it's like the beginning of what you were saying. It's like the Ryder Cup. It's now we've got a thing on our side. That's very powerful.
Dude, that balcony and everything in the Vatican, that is sick. It looks like out of a Hunger Games or something.
I do want to go to the Vatican one day. I have not
too.
been. I think Frankie went when he did his Italy tour. I could be wrong about that.
What is it, St. Peter's Square or something?
St. Peter's Basilica.
So,
I think.
yeah,
That's
that's
square and everything like that.
I would like to just
It's
go
where
to
they do the
Vatican
ceremonies.
because it's a whole city. It's Vatican City. So.
It looks
It's a whole country.
awesome.
Yeah.
Smallest
Yeah,
country in
it's
the
a
world.
country. Angels and Demons. You guys ever read that book?
Is that Dan
Brown.
Dan Brown.
And then who was it? Tom Hanks did a little movie action. If you're not a big book reader guy,
what was
Yeah,
the
he's-
original one of that?
Da Vinci Code. My
Da
favorite
Vinci
book
Code.
I've ever read.
It's really good.
Da Vinci Code's my favorite
Breaking
book.
news. Play
Yeah.
breaking news music.
Right. I think it's one of the more like
The Da
famous
Vinci Code
books
is a good book.
ever. I remember reading that book, having no idea what it was going to be about.
Yeah.
And it starts with like the murder scene in the museum.
Yep.
And me being like, whoa, I thought this was a book about like art.
You think it's gonna be like a nonfiction book?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And that is maybe my favorite book I've ever read. And then I read all the other Dan Brown novels, Angels and Demons. And then there's another one, Deception Point, which I believe is about a great book. But the premise is that like I think it's like an outgoing maybe, like presidential administration announces that they found like alien life in Antarctica. And then the whole thing turns into like it was a scam for them to gain like political and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Interesting.
That's another Dan Brown novel. And then there's a fourth one that I read, but that was really good. But anyways,
It's a very nerdy thing, but I like when I find an author that I like and you just run through all their books. It's
100%.
it's
That's what
really
I
a
was
fun
doing
thing.
maybe a decade ago or so I did
Yeah.
that. But he blends sort of like, nonfiction, a lot of nonfiction like facts with a thriller that kind of runs through it.
Yeah, I feel like there's that new genre that came out like a while ago that was historical fiction.
Yeah.
where it is sort of, there's the touch points of things that actually happened, but he's sort of coloring in the lines of
Right.
could be this.
And for anyone who hasn't read Da Vinci Code, it is a lot of like, there'll be 3 straight pages about like historical stuff that's all true. And then it like cuts to the characters kind of like navigating their way through that stuff that the characters are obviously fake, fictional, but it's based on them going through all this real stuff. They're running through real, he describes the architecture and the history of the architecture and what it means. That's all true.
Think Forrest Gump.
Yeah, right.
He's sort of just weaving in and out of all these things that really happened.
That's a great movie.
Great movie.
Come on.
I haven't seen Forrest Gump really in a long time.
Gump's not, it gets sad at points. I mean, that's how movies go, but
It's a good rainy day movie. Kick it on, watch it.
Yeah.
speaking of rainy day, it's raining here in Charlotte, although it looks like it stopped.
There were whispers it was gonna be better this afternoon, but for folks who don't know, as we're recording this, they've already announced no patrons today at the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
The forecast for pretty much the whole week looks horrible. A little better once play starts, but like thunderstorms and rain today, rain Tuesday, Wednesday. I saw a thunderbolt and rain Thursday.
Yeah.
So it just does not look overly great. You got to feel for the PGA a little bit. It's like, I'm sure that they've all made that little comment for the last year straight of like, let's just make sure we get good weather, and they've got horrible weather.
Really bad.
So that's a bummer. However, you can start to look at that as a nice little golf handicapper as to who does that favor. Mr. McIlroy, 2 of his 5 major championships have come when it was soaking wet out, and he is a soaking wet golf type of player. He hits the ball, carries the ball farther than anyone else, and it really starts to eliminate, especially a PGA Championship-like course, starts to eliminate some guys that don't hit it as far when it starts to get really wet out there because it just gets really long. If you miss fairways at all, when it's that kind of wet out, you're going to be way back. You are going to be hitting out a rough that is tangly and wet, and that time 72 holes is just going to favor kind of the bombers a little bit. So that's something to consider. But we are here. Let's talk about Quail Hollow. I'm going to get 2 things out of the way I want to talk about for the PGA. Number 1, think about this morning in the shower. I love that they moved the PGA to May.
Yeah. Way better.
Way better.
Such a better decision for
When
him.
it just kind of hung on as the last major, I think it was harder for it to really elevate and feel as like meaningful. And we all kind of, and it still doesn't quite have the identity of the other 3, but when it comes earlier like this, it just, it elevates it to the level of all the others without having to try as hard. They used to call it Glory's last shot. I was clearly like trying really hard to consider it that. Now it's like Masters, major, yes. PGA, major, yes. US Open, and it's 4 in a row, 4 months in a row. Comes earlier, so there's a lot of major championship momentum still. And it's just a better decision. I know the weather is actually kind of like probably worse for that overall. But in terms of just elevating it without having to try as hard, I think they nailed it.
Yeah, it was. You have no choice but to pay attention to it.
Right.
Like in the past, after the British was over, you were just kind of like, all right, we're kind of done here. But now, like you're saying, now you're in the flow of majors, and you're still craving huge golf championships. So you had the Masters, great tournament, obviously, great winner, great everything. And now it's like, oh, the next month, bang, we get another one. It doesn't matter that it's the PGA. It's just another huge golf tournament where all the best golfers in the world are going to show up, and it's on your calendar. Like you were saying, in the past when it was after the British and it was the last one, it was just like an afterthought. It had less juice. Still doesn't have a ton of juice, but we went through it maybe about a month ago, or you went through it, Riggs, where it's had great results. It's had great moments. It's really done all it can to try to elevate to the level of the other ones. It'll probably never get there, but it's still something that's on someone's resume if you win it. JT's got 2. He's a major championship winner. Like that still counts. Like people aren't saying like, oh, they don't count because they're both PGAs. They're still majors, and I really think moving it up in the calendar and having it just be in the flow of in between the Masters and the US Open, I think it makes a big, big difference.
This definitely is not your normal golf week on tour.
That's right.
So like while a lot of people would probably rank this as their 4th most favorite major, I mean, we have the best players in the world coming to play here at Quail Hollow. The field is set. Everybody's looking forward to it. And it does matter more, I think, now that it's earlier in the year, because if we just take this year, if it was the old style, like we would already be talking about Ryder Cup as we got past, July, right? Like it would kind of be more of the overlooked portion, where now it's like, okay, hey, it's in the middle of May. This is what we want to have. Best players in the field. I think I'd be interested, and I wonder like what people actually rank the top 4 majors are in terms of what they love the most.
Yeah, this always makes me laugh thinking about Gary Player.
What'd he say?
Just ever since like a couple of years ago or so, he got in trouble for something or whatever, and ever since then, his tone and his ranking of the majors has always laughably. He's just now put the Masters last.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was something about Augusta,
dude.
and
So
it was like,
okay.
now
I don't think it was like when his son got in trouble with the golf balls thing. I think it was something else that was actually kind of like off camera or whatever, that he got a little bit in trouble with Augusta, so they kind of stopped giving him this perk or that, something along those lines. And then ever since then, whenever he goes on Golf Channel, he talks about the majors. He always goes on and goes like, the British Open is obviously the biggest one and the best major championship by far. And he goes through and he goes, they're all great majors. And the Masters, of course, is the 4th one. It's about, and he always, he is just, dude, it's so funny. We got to find one of those clips.
With a guy like Gary Player, we've just, I think he's 89 now. We've reached a point where you can't, I think he was born in, you're talking to a guy who was born in the 1930s. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I mean, not that Gary Player's a hot topic of like, oh my gosh, it's so controversial, the things he's saying. But when guys who said that were born like right after the Great Depression, it just is what it is, man.
It's like when a elderly driver just is like in between lanes and not using turn indicator or backing into you in the parking lot or something, and you look and you're like, oh, they're just so old that they could kind of just get away with driving like that.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't take what Gary Player says seriously, but you are getting to the point where he's just, it's not the same. It's not the same guy that was, from 60 years ago. So, but
he's also reached the era in his life where he's just the same kind of older guy now saying it for 15 years?
Right.
It's like, it's different when you're in your 50s, 60s. You're still pretty much right there. You're playing Champions Tour stuff. You're kind of winning Champions Tour stuff still. And once you get to like between the age of 70 and 90, which he is now, he's just doing and saying the same stuff pretty much. You're like, oh, let's go to Gary Player. And it's like just a recording of him from 10 years ago, basically.
Right. He's not saying anything really where you're like, oh, whoa, all right. Gary did the research on that one.
No, I laugh at that. But if I went through the majors, and I don't know that our opinions really matter that much, but if I went through the majors, I think it's what would be most meaningful for me to win would be Masters, U.S. Open, British Open, PGA Championship, in that order.
I think it's a good order. It's funny. It almost depends on when you ask me, because if you ask me when the British is going on, I get fired up about that. And it's so old, and the list is incredible. I mean, all the lists are incredible, but there's something about the British, especially when we were over there. We were over there right before the 150th of St. Andrews.
Dude, and we went to Prestwick. We went to all these places.
I think if you asked me, certainly then I would have been like, it's British, and then it's like a huge dip, and then it's Masters.
Yeah.
But then when the Masters is going on and we're in Augusta and, you see all the pageantry and it's so beautiful, then like I would say the Masters. I think if you asked me at a sober moment in terms of like, you asked me in November.
Yeah.
I think I would probably say the Masters, the British, U.S. Open, PGA. I think there's something about the British that really fires me up in terms of golf.
I like that out of you. I'm very susceptible to recency bias. So I think if you ask me British Open week, I would say it's number one, not even close.
Especially when it's at St. Andrews. Then I'm just like,
the venue matters.
Holy smokes.
The venue
matters.
100% matters.
When it's at like Hoylake, which is awesome, it
Yeah.
doesn't have the same gravitas as when it's at the Old Course or Carnoustie.
Yep.
There's certain venues out there. When it was at like Royal Birkdale, I feel like that didn't really get me going that much.
Yeah.
Whereas like Troon or like some of these places where Tom Watson's won a million times. So yeah, I think the venue matters and changes the British maybe more than some of the other ones. But like, I just as an American guy grew up with like the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
God, kick your teeth in. You got to be tough. You're gonna get slaughtered out there. But everybody is. Who can prevail? And it's like I think of like Oakmont or Shinnecock with like the USGA flags, the American flags whipping, people complaining about the course, people hacking out of like knee-high grass.
Yeah.
And like emerging as like the US Open champion. I just think for me would be so awesome because like it's our national championship. But you're not wrong, dude. When we were there for the 150th of the British Open, we were walking down the 18th fairway and stuff. Like when players were done in the first fairway, we were just walking out there. People had their dogs out and stuff like a day before the tournament started. Yeah. And you're
it's
like,
so cool.
There's the Dunvegan, there's like the RNA ancient building, there's the hotel, the Rusicks that we were staying at. And then like 8 feet away is just the green that they're going to finish the British Open on, that they play every 5 years. That's got the most history of any place in the world of golf. And you're like, Tiger's going to be here. Rory's going to be here. The road hole right there. Like, it is hard to beat the feels that you get from that event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
300 yards away is old Tom Morris's gravesite. Like, St. Andrews just being a super small town has that aura to it.
The whole thing's a cathedral.
Yeah. I mean, they got a university there. If you go to university, you can join the golf society. I think it's like $500 a month. That gets you a membership at the old course.
How good is that?
How crazy is that?
What's your ranking?
I think I go U.S. Open,
Okay.
then Augusta, then the Open. You call it the British Open, but it's the Open.
I know.
And then the PGA Championship.
I thought you were maybe going to stand up for the PGA Championship there and take it number 1.
I can't go that far. But
it
is something super unique.
I thought
though,
after
right?
that
like,
whole conversation you were going to go, well, clearly the
PGA Championship's got to be number 1.
All right, Gary Player, take it easy.
But like, this is the only event for PGA Pros too. Like, there's 20 PGA Pros in the field.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
which
now,
is great.
you could still qualify for, let's say, like the U.S. Open and go through that whole process, which is unique to that too, where you can't really go do that if you're going to go do the Open, right, in Britain or Augusta.
Right.
Which is, I think, the great testaments to like the USGA and the ability to go do that stuff. Huge shout out to all the PGA Pros that are in the field this week, the team of 20. We'll see how many can make the cut and you know, if they can fare well. I think the top finish they've had recently, top 15, Michael Block a couple years ago.
He's in it again, isn't he?
I believe
He's in it this year.
Yeah.
He's in it this year.
I believe he's in it again.
PGA Pros have definitely won the event. Like, Sam Snead was a PGA Professional that turned, you know, also a golf pro and has won a whole bunch. So,
Do you know like the 20 guys that are in it? Like, or have you crossed paths with any of them?
I've crossed paths with them from time to time. Back when it was in Kiowa, this would have been 5 or 6 years ago, maybe. That's when Phil won.
Yeah.
The low club pro of the year was Ben Cook. He was one of my college roommates.
Amazing.
No way.
So yeah,
That is a very cool part of this.
Ben Cook's
week.
also playing the Rocket Mortgage coming up in next week. So.
Well, they still do that at Detroit Golf Club,
Detroit Golf Club, yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
I believe, Donald Ross track.
Donald Ross.
Bryson DeChambeau won there one time.
Yeah.
So we'll see if one of the top, one of the team of 20 guys can make the cut. Usually there's 1 or 2 of them that make a cut. So we'll see.
So the PGA of America is Beef again as a member.
Yep.
He's a
9-year member.
9 year?
9 years. I've been a member for 9 years now.
Gets a ticket to every golf tournament.
Yeah.
As you
Every
should.
major.
Shows
As
the
you
idea.
should. Totally agree.
There are how many? 29,000.
Yeah, it's right now it's between 28 and like 30,000 PGA professionals throughout the country.
And these folks, PGA professionals, describe what it really means to be a PGA professional, because it's not. It almost reminds me of like becoming a teacher, like
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the way I usually explain it to people is there's difference between being a PGA professional and like a tour professional, right?
Sure.
So obviously, right, all your tour pros that you watch on television every single week are playing week in, week out, the way they're providing for their family and everything. PGA professionals are the ones you're going to go to the golf courses, right? They're the ones where if you have a 7 a.m. tee time, they're the ones helping you behind the counter. They're the ones doing all the merchandise buying for the facility. They're the ones doing all the business stuff. They're the ones doing all the instruction, the teaching, clinics, lessons, setting up your tournaments. That's who I'm a part of, right? Which is the PGA of America.
Yep.
So I'm representing those 28 to 30,000 PGA professionals that then help make golf a better place and help grow the game of golf, help keep golf sustainable so we continue to have golf and golf and golf. Like at the end of this week for PGA Championship, Don Ray, who's the president of the PGA, his club is out of Arizona.
He's an Arizona guy. I know Don Ray.
Gainey Ranch, I think it is.
Mhm.
So
I've played in foursome with Don Ray a couple years ago.
Nice.
yeah, so he's an elected official through the PGA of America. He's gonna hand whoever wins the PGA Championship the trophy,
Okay.
right? So here's the PGA Championship trophy, which is 28 inches tall and like 30 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, the old Wanamaker.
The old Rodman Wanamaker
It was
trophy.
a beast.
So
Who was it? Colin Morikawa dropped that or
Yeah.
something? Or was that
yeah,
Harding Park.
the lid came off Harding Park.
lid came off?
But
Think
that's
Brooks had an issue too, maybe with our boy Seth Waugh at Oak Hill.
Could be.
good amount.
Anything with a lid is tough.
It's a big trophy.
Lid is. I think the lid throws people. For
You know what I mean? You almost got to glue that thing shut. I know they probably want to drink out of it, but
But yeah, 1916 is when the PGA of America was founded.
okay.
Rodman Wanamaker was the first one to help put up the prize money for the first one, and then he had that big trophy made for it.
So you guys are PGA professionals. You guys are in the trenches,
Yeah, every single day.
right?
So that's what I think people don't fully understand.
I agree.
You know, like I'll use Greyhawk for example, where I spend a ton of time up at Greyhawk, and they've got like 35 different employees that you kind of see, from the outside guys to when you go into the pro shop. But what people don't realize is like 10 of the folks who are working inside the pro shop are PGA professionals.
Yeah.
Who they're checking in for the tee time. They're running the tee sheet. They're also, swiping your card for the hat that you purchased. And then they're also working with the retail crew. A lot of shops that you go into, a lot of PGA or a lot of golf shops that you go into, if you're like Greyhawk's a little bit different. They have a full merchandise team, but a lot of them, the shop is run by the PGA professionals, and they have a cut of how successful the shop is for the merchandise and all that. And they work on ordering the different SKUs and run that whole part of it. And then at Greyhawk, the reason I brought that up, it's like, I know, for example, like Cody and a good amount of the crew that are sort of like assistant pros at the club. I go up there, I'll randomly be up there hitting balls on like a Wednesday, and at like 5:30 p.m., all of a sudden like 30 kids show up, and they're doing like a clinic for kids.
Right. Absolutely.
In the evening that they put together, that I think it's like free, or it's like a very, very, very little amount of money that they're doing literally just to like give back to golf after they've been there since 5 a.m., staging golf carts, staging the tee sheet, making sure everything's ready, making sure everybody's on comms because everybody's going to come in like a wrecking ball, bachelor parties, all the chaos. People are driving carts into ponds. And then at 5:30 p.m., these guys are going out there. Cody Highfield's his name. And they're out there and they're running these clinics. And it's a bunch of the other guys up at Greyhawk too. It's not just him, but like they're running clinics for kids and they're doing all this stuff. And I think people don't really realize the PGA kind of teaching professionals, like Trent said, they're in the goddamn trenches.
Yeah, and kind of to your point earlier of like actual physical teachers, right? Teaching kids, like it's not really an industry that you're going to go in and make a whole bunch of mass amounts of money. You do it because you love it,
right?
And because the golf course has always felt like home to you, right? So where I was at Thornberry Creek Oneida in Wisconsin, obviously we have a 5 or 6 month golf season,
right?
So during the week you're there for 60 to 80 hours, and that feels like home to me because in the off season you're there for 20 hours, right? And you're just getting a business plan set up and you're getting forecasting done and all your actual business stuff in the off season, so that when it comes time to play golf, you're just there and get to do clinics. And very long days for PGA pros.
And how much golf would you say you're actually playing? Probably not much with that schedule.
There's not a lot of, let's say, PGA pros from the public side that are playing a whole bunch of golf.
Yeah.
Definitely on the private side, you have a lot more golf opportunities. But like anything else, right? If I wanted to go out and play golf every single day, you could.
Okay.
You go play maybe 3 holes at a time or 4 holes at a time, 9 holes at a time maybe, but when you're there for 60 or 70 hours a week and you have your one day off, the last thing you want to do is go play 18 holes on that day, right? Like you want to be at home or on a boat, or
the old adage, if you want to play less golf, get into the golf.
Yeah. But I mean, being a PGA member for me has 100% changed my life. I would not change at all. I absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
Love the business, love the people, love what the sport's done for me.
I mean, you do for us. Like you came in, and I mean, we do a lot of merch stuff, and like we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants trying to figure it out. Me, Riggs, Frankie, and everybody behind the scenes who does a great job. But you like actually know what you're doing, and like you'll like give suggestions and you'll make connections. And when we go to these tournaments, you're like in the shop, like helping people find the right size and like putting the right things up front. And we didn't tell you to do any of that. You were just like, you were in there, and like it's almost like your PGA robot brain went like, all right, this is what we're gonna do to make this more successful, and it's been really great to watch.
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to win 2 awards from the PGA section. So I've been a merchandiser the year before and an assistant golf professional. So like when we get in those settings, it's literally
you're
like
award winner.
A 2-time award winner,
Section award winner.
Section award winner. Yeah.
I didn't know that, Beef.
I got big plaques in my home office and everything. Yeah,
that's
damn right. You do. Damn right you do.
So like when you see me in those environments, I'm like putting together outfits and stuff like that, or helping people. Like it immediately goes back into like PGA Pro mode. There we go.
Amazing.
2-time award-winning PGA professional Cody Frankie Beef.
That's right.
That is nice.
We got no awards.
I've never even been nominated for an award.
I don't even think there's awards in our world. Really?
No, there's not. Our world doesn't really exist.
It really kind of doesn't, which is interesting.
NHL playoffs are here. The only place to buy hard-to-get playoff tickets is Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NHL playoff tickets. Prices on the app actually go down the closer it gets to puck drop. You can save up to 60% when buying last-minute tickets. Look, going to hockey games in person, I think, is probably well known as the biggest difference in all sports viewing that you can have.
Yeah, I'd say it's near the top of the list in terms of going to a sporting event. There's a few that are like, okay, hockey and certainly playoff hockey, that's probably number one.
I think it's the most electric environment you can witness in person.
Yeah, it's got to
100%.
be up there. I also think, weirdly, I think there's a Sturgill Simpson concert in Charlotte this week that I might be going to. And if I go to that, I will be using Game Time. I was looking on the Game Time app, and I was like, we're going to be in Charlotte. Maybe there's something in town. Sure enough, my guy Sturgill is playing an amphitheater around here, so might go on there. If you're in town for the PGA Championship, maybe I'll see you out there. Go to a Sturgill concert, Game Time.
You can use the GT Picks feature. I'm looking right now at the you've got the Washington Capitals at the Carolina Hurricanes, which is Raleigh's not too far from here, but you can get tickets from $180, $166, all the way up to $427. You basically want to be sitting on the ice in the action, and it's all through Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL playoff tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and then use the code FORE, F-O-R-E, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code FORE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? Game Time. Truly Unruly Lemonade combines the high alc fun of Truly Unruly with everyone's favorite, lemonade. I love lemonade.
I do too.
It's a great drink.
I really, really love lemonade.
Great flavor. Lemonade let loose. 8% ABV, 100% delicious. We've got 4. That is 4 supercharged lemonade flavors. Bumpin' Blue Raz.
Yep.
OG Original Lemonade.
Okay.
Punched Up Pineapple.
Yum.
And Wild Pink.
Delicious. Yeah, we've been lucky enough to try these, and I'm sure we'll be seeing these out at Barstool Classics. People who have had the Unrulies, just the original, they love those. Packs a little bit of a punch. And
8%, baby.
8%. And now you got the lemonade. Like you said, lemonade is such a refreshing, delicious drink. You're out there on the golf course, lemonade, a little bit of booze. You're living.
Wild Pink is probably my favorite flavor.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I've always loved pink lemonade.
It's so good.
Got a little hint of that to it.
Very
Drink
good.
of the summer right there.
Drink of the summer. The official hard seltzer of Foreplay. You can level up your lemonade with Truly Unruly. Find Truly Unruly Lemonade at a store near you or visit www.trulyhardseltzer.com. I looked up a little bit of history. I typed in Chat GPT. I said, give me the full history of the PGA Championship. I was not polite, by the way, because apparently politeness is costing Chat GPT like billions of dollars a year.
What do you mean?
People, I guess, all the server power and electricity that it takes to run AI, I guess, is like the future world's problem. It's going to be a real issue.
Okay.
And they were saying that people, including politeness, like thanking ChatGPT and such, and then using politeness is costing like 20% of the electricity in the world right now.
Interesting. I hate that because let me tell you what's going to happen with that. If I throw my brain in the future,
Extrapolate a little bit.
it's just going to make every generation that comes up with AI the meanest fucking people in the world. Because they're like, no, we don't do pleasantries because AI didn't. Because AI in the future is going to be one of the only things people interact with. And you're just going to be mean to it. And so when you are out in public and you get a coffee or you go to the grocery store, you're going to be really mean to everybody because you're trained to be that way.
We got to blame Frankie Borrelli for being that mean to Grok.
Right.
He was like, called him straight out and was like, you're a liar.
I guess
Yeah.
if the more direct you are, the faster you get an answer is what they're
Pretty
saying.
much what they're saying is like it's combing through. Like, don't get me wrong. I felt like I was a little too short, which I just wrote, give me the full history of the PGA Championship.
I don't like it.
I think that their point, and again, I was hearing someone talk about this, was that if you're like, hello, Chat GPT, thanks for taking my time this morning. Can you please give me? That's just a lot more bullshit that multiplied by billions of requests costs a ton of like money and electricity for AI to comb through.
It's going to cost a lot more in about 60 years. It's going to cost a lot more. Okay, so what they say?
Yeah, what they say.
Founded in 1916, PGA Golfers Association of America. It was held at Sewanoi Country Club in Bronxville, New York. The winner was Jim Barnes. From 1916 until 1957, the championship was played in match play format. During this era of the match play format, Walter Hagen won 5 titles, including 4 in a row from 1947 to 1927. Gene Sarazen won 3 titles. Ben Hogan won in 1946 and 1948. In World War II, there was an interruption. There were no tournaments in 1943 due to the war.
Yep.
Transition to stroke play 1958 until the present. Reasons for the change are listed as TV friendliness and the growing popularity of stroke play among spectators. First stroke play winner was Dow Finsterwald, which sounds like a character from...
If I can stop you right there, do we agree with that change? I understand the TV friendly aspect of it, but imagine a world right now where they hadn't changed and the PGA Championship is still match play. I think that kind of gives it the juice that we're saying that it's missing.
I think it would have worked out better in the long run had they not changed.
I agree.
We could propose that it goes back is what we could do.
Yeah, I mean, now...
Right? All it's got to take is a vote from PGA of America and members. I don't think it's ever going to go back that way, but we do not have a true match play championship on tour anymore.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, not even on tour.
It used to be the
Dell.
Yeah, the Dell Match Play Championships,
Boston
right?
Country Club, where I played before. Great spot.
Or they hosted where was it? Northern Arizona. Dove Canyon, Dove Mountain, right?
Dove Mountain, yeah.
They had it for forever there.
I think Sergio said it was like the worst golf course in the world.
Yeah. But we do not have on tour, right,
did,
an
like
actual match play style bracket event.
I know. We've talked a lot about it over the years of like, should we have one? And I think we should. And if the PGA Championship were match play, that would be some serious juice. I understand like the TV part of it where the field's just dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And by the last day, you've got like 2 groups. And that's not a great viewing experience. But
it's a risk.
For sure. Because you could get, you obviously want Scottie, Rory, but you could get X and Y who are way further down the world golf rank.
Right. It's a risk. And I think that at least the theory is at least when you have stroke play, if a big name, there's going to be a big name within like 5 shots going into the final round.
Right.
You can at least feature them. Maybe they make a run. Whereas if you dwindle it down to 4 players and you have no big names on the final 2 days of the event, that's killer. And that's going to happen occasionally. But I'm with you. I think overall, dude, the bracketology that would go on.
Yeah.
All the back and forth. People will be filling out their brackets. The head-to-head matchups. Like, even in the Dell match play, and like, remember when Tiger played Rory?
Yeah.
Like right before he won the Masters in 2019, and he hit that shot from underneath like the tree. Dude, you had some all-time matches. I remember when his was in the final against Scottie Scheffler,
yeah.
like right when Scottie started to make his run, and he waxed the floor with Kiz.
Yeah.
No offense, Kiz, but Kiz has won that event before.
So were you saying?
But you also had the opposite way where like Victor Dubuisson, who is who is that, is playing in the finals 1 year of that too.
He played
right?
against Jason Day that year. Remember that? He was getting up and down from the desert.
So are you saying, though, that it's the PGA of America is run as a democracy? So if this was put forth, everyone would vote on it?
I'm sure it can make its way onto some type of ballot.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is voting that happens in the PGA of America.
Sure.
Right? So like there's, out of the sections, PGA sections elect a board type of style of people that then go to the PGA meeting and elect our professionals that we have.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you're in that pipeline of president, vice president, secretary, whatnot like that, those are the people that then become. So once you're elected to the PGA board, you technically serve like an 8-year process of being secretary, vice president, president, past president.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I wish it was. I kind of wish it was still match play.
So do I.
But
and I think we've had that conversation before, and I stick with it. I think it's risky, 100%. But I just think it would deliver the juice, and you would have some all-time like semifinal and final matchups, that could, like, you got to take on one of the top guys in the game or 2 top guys in the game going head-to-head to stay alive in a major championship. That's insane.
Yeah. That would be cool.
That is a crazy dynamic. And some of these matches going to playoff holes, because I remember from that match play tournament, like tons of those matches went to playoff holes.
Yep.
You're playing like a playoff hole to get to the final of like a major championship to change your career. That's insane.
Stroke play, though, does make it so that the quote-unquote better golfer, the all-around golfer, plays and wins, right? Like,
sure.
We've all played in matches where if you go make a 10, it doesn't matter. You're only down 1 hole.
Right.
Right? You go make a par somewhere, make a birdie somewhere, and get back, where if you go make a 10 in your normal playing and you're playing stroke play,
you're out.
You're out of it.
You can also have a day where you shoot 66.
Yeah,
you just run into a guy who shoots 65, and somebody else shoots 71, and they played a guy who shot 75.
Yeah.
And like you advance, and that other guy that shot 66 doesn't advance. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, 4 rounds of stroke play, you certainly get probably a more more of the time you get a worthy champion.
Guess what? I don't care.
I don't think I do either.
Mm-mm.
I'd say bring back match play. We need one on tour. We need a match play event on tour.
It is crazy that there isn't one. I mean, yeah. No, it would be. I wish there was one for sure.
I mean, we've gone to a team event on tour,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
you look
Zurich.
at Zurich, right? They're down there in New Orleans playing in 2-person teams. Let's go play in match play format.
It would be awesome if they went to match play. I think people would love it. I get that it's a risk, but like it's still a major. Everyone's going to show up. And to your point, Beef, at the beginning, like what really makes it major is everyone's here. You know, there's only 5 events a year, and really 4 now because the live thing. I was going to say the Players Championship, but there's 5 events a year. All the best players are showing up for, and you have to subtract, so it is actually 4. But like even the Truist last week, like Scottie Scheffler didn't play in the Truist. I know 9 of the top 10 in the world did, but like there are big events that are awesome that you're still going to be missing 2, 3, 5 big names from, with the exceptions of the majors, unless you're injured. You are playing in the major championships if you're eligible to play. Every single one of them, 100% of the time. It's been since like Arnold Palmer times when people didn't travel over because you had to go by like sea to play in the British Open, since people have skipped major championships for any reason other than being like injured. And that's what's going to make it major. Now imagine that, because again, the Dell Match Play was sweet. It was a world golf championship, so most people showed up, but not everyone. Now, dude, if you had the entire best field imaginable in golf, the best players showing up for match play, God, you would have, even in like second, third round, early on, you would have like a Brooks Koepka versus a Rory type matchup where you'd be able to like.
Yes.
Well, and you can still rank them just like the official World Golf Rankings, right? So take
That's what they do
whoever
for
number
every
1
tennis
is,
tournament in the world.
take whoever number 64 is, and boom, that's who you're playing.
That's just what it is.
The only thing it does, right, is it limits the field to 64. There's going to be a 0% chance that the PGA Club pros are going to get into the field.
That part would
Right.
be.
The
Yeah, but
downside.
you could get them in. I think you could do like what they do for the U.S. Amateur. You could do maybe 2 rounds of stroke play and then rank people from there and do the match play where there's a cut, you know?
And they still give out a trophy for low PGA Pro this week. So, like, even if you did a simultaneous, hey, here's the tour guys and here's the top 20. I don't know, how'd you make the field so that it bracket styles up,
Yeah.
right? And just have, hey, here's our low club pro.
I think
So
it'd be
the
cool.
same way.
Oh, I would love it. Instead, you got stroke play and you get who won the first one?
Winner.
You'd still have 96 players, right? 64 for the tour athletes, and then you'd have a field size of 32 maybe for PGA pros.
Yeah.
And you just open up the field to the top 32, and boom, they get seeded same way. They play in the tournament just like they did to get in the top 20 PGA Championship. The top 32 finishers, boom, go on to that way.
Dow Finsterwald, Trent.
You know?
You couldn't remember that name off the top of your?
I couldn't remember
Dow
Finsterwald.
Finsterwald?
First
Now you're
stroke
always
play
right.
winner, 1958. I'm not sure exactly what the venue was. Modern era. The PGA Championship began rotating among top-tier courses around the United States. 1960s through the 1990s became known for difficult setups and deep competitive fields. Jack Nicklaus emerged as a dominant figure, winning 5 PGA Championships, 1963, 1971, 1973, 1975, and 1980. Other multiple winners, Lee Trevino, Raymond Floyd, Tom Watson, Tiger Woods and the 21st Century Stars, 1999 to the present.
Mm-hmm.
Tiger Woods, 4-time PGA champion in 99, 2000, 06, and 07. 07, first time I ever saw Tiger Woods in person at Southern Hills. Me and my brother drove down. It was sick. That was when Woody Austin was going toe-to-toe with Tiger down the stretch.
Yeah.
Fist pumping Woody Austin.
Yeah, he was great.
Wow.
He was great. Me and my brother got a David Faraday water bottle.
I remember that story.
There
I
we
couldn't
go.
remember if it was Faraday or Tiger. It was
Faraday. We were huge Faraday fans at the time.
Yeah.
I think that's when his like comedy show was on Golf Channel, maybe. But he absolutely chugged a bottle and threw it down, and my brother grabbed it. And I was like, "What was that?" He's like, "That was David Faraday's bottle." I was like, "That's sick."
That's awesome.
Got his DNA right
That's
on it.
worth it. That's
Dude,
worth the drive.
It was so hot in Oklahoma in August. Faraday was running around with those huge packs on, like Colt Nose wears, doing the CBS
Back
broadcast.
then, probably way bigger, too. The
way
packs.
bigger. The whole pack was preposterous. It
Yeah.
was this computer you see from like the 1960s. It takes up a whole room.
Right.
And he
Right.
was sweating his bag off running up and down the rough in the fairways. And we snagged that bottle of water. Other notable recent winners. Phil Mickelson became the oldest major winner in history at age 50 when he won at Kiowa 2021. Rory McIlroy's won twice. Brooks Koepka's won 3 times. Justin Thomas won twice. His dad, PGA teacher.
Yeah.
pro.
JT was the 8th winner that's come from a PGA Professionals background.
That is awesome.
That's cool.
So there's been, 8 times. Could be 9 times this week, depending on who wins on tour.
Yeah.
Keegan's dad's a PGA Pro too, Mark Bradley.
Key records and facts. Most wins, Jack Nicklaus and Walter Hagen, each won 5 times. Youngest winner, Gene Sarazen, 20 years old in 1922. Oldest winner, Phil. Most notable venues, Oak Hill, Valhalla, Southern Hills, Baltusrol, Whistling Straits. I do want to talk about the venues. So we've got something cooking this week, which is Quail Hollow here in Charlotte. It is a venue that is an annual stop on the PGA Tour. This past week, they had the Truist up at Philly Cricket Club because the major was moving to Quail Hollow. They had the President's Cup here a few years ago.
Yeah.
Had the PGA Championship here in 2017. Nothing against Quail Hollow. Quail Hollow is actually a sick venue. Really cool holes. The Green Mile. I understand a lot of the reasoning. It's here in Charlotte. If people look at a lot of the financial firms that support golf from a sponsorship standpoint, tons of them are based out of Charlotte. Charlotte is a huge banking town. A lot of the executives, a lot of the CEOs that pour a ton of money into supporting golf are members at Quail Hollow, and it's a very central point. Charlotte Airport is a huge hub. It's easy for a lot of people to get to, all that. Having said all that, Philly Cricket Club was a great example last week of this drives me nuts when they just return to venues, especially ones that are annual PGA Tour stops, because there's so much cool golf out there that could be explored and utilized, especially at a venue like this, especially with a tournament like the PGA Championship that we've spent like an hour talking about how it's the 4th in terms of identity.
Yeah.
That I think you do about the minimum that you could possibly do when it comes to you can earn juice for a tournament from the venue. With the old course, we just talked about it, changes the Open Championship maybe from the 3rd of my mind to the 1st that year.
Yeah.
When like the Open is at St. Andrews. Similar with the U.S. Open when it's at Pebble Beach or when it's at a Shinnecock and like
or
Bryson and
Brookline from a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, and you have like Bryson and Zach Johnson are like complaining about the golf course. Like that makes me be like, yes, this is the number one this year. When you throw it to a place that's Quail Hollow that we see every year on tour, I think you lose a huge opportunity to gather juice from the venue.
Yeah, I just think like when the reasoning is that you laid out, which I understand, is like it's a banking town and a lot of the rich guys are members there, and like that's why the general public doesn't give a fuck about that. They don't even know about it, and that shouldn't be the reason. Like you like what in your mind? What are some examples of a golf course that you would rather be at for a PGA Championship? Like what would bring the juice for you?
Yeah, I think. Dude, remember when they did last year? They did the BMW Championship at like Castle Pines, I think it was called, in Colorado.
Yeah.
That I'm not saying you do a major championship there, but that was awesome to see. And remember how much that, like, a lot of the chatter that week was about the golf course.
Definitely.
And all the visuals, like all the drone shots, all the visuals from guys hitting shots was at a venue that I didn't even know existed. Like just one week, all of a sudden I turned on the TV and they're at a place that I'd never heard of. And It was this Castle Pines. The Philly Cricket Club, dude, this last week, a ton of golfers, JT, Rory, had a bunch of quotes earlier in the week being like, there's just something so cool about old school venues.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I wish we could go back and play at old school venues like this. It's an A.W. Tillinghast. Tillinghast has done Bethpage Black. He did the Wingfoot courses, I believe the Baltusrol courses, like this awesome old school architecture that they did a really good job. I think the winning score was 16 or 17 under last week. A lot of people worried it was going to be 25 or 30 under. It was really windy for a couple of days, which helped, but the course held up. Like that's not that much lower under par than the Masters winner was this year. Like 11 under, 12 under. So for that to hold up, I thought was really a cool sign. And you'd have to really comb through and see how many tee boxes they're going to need to extend at like a Cypress or a Pine Valley. Those courses, I don't know that they're. And there's a lot other stuff that goes into it in terms of the infrastructure for a major championship, having the room to be able to like get people in there. I remember from St. Louis when they had it at Belle Reve in 2018 when it was awesome. It was super loud. Everybody was talking about how loud the fans were. But a lot of the reason for that was because it was a claustrophobic venue.
Right.
There was like it's in a neighborhood. There's not a ton of room. And it was like kind of a nightmare to get in and out a little bit. It's a nightmare to get in and out of Shinnecock. There's like one road that goes all the way out to Shinnecock. So they have to factor all that stuff in. But I just think there's so many golf courses that we don't even know about. And the Castle Pines and the Philly Cricket Club are examples like that of like Philly Cricket Club would have never been on my mind if they should host a PGA Tour venue. And then all of a sudden they did last week, and it was sick. They had a 95-yard par 3 yesterday.
That was so cool.
It was, and people weren't birdieing it. They were like, it was almost too short. They were hitting a wedge. It was landing, skipping, and they had like 20 feet down the hill. The first hole was an awesome example of like people weren't birdieing the first hole, even though it was like 340-yard par 4. Rory hit it up into the greenside bunker. He had to hit this 6 shot way up to the left that took the slope down. He could only get it within inside of like 9 feet, but he made his birdie. Whereas all these other guys, it was downwind. They were hitting wedges that were, it was a front right pin. They were hitting wedges that were landing like near it and skipping to the second tier, and they couldn't make birdie. And it's like, that's not a 520-yard par 4 with narrow fairway and crazy rough. It was like a pretty gettable hole that most members probably come out, hit like a 4-iron off the tee, hit a wedge in the middle of the green and make the same score as the pros. Like, that's awesome.
Yep.
And so I just think it just made me a little bit being like, there's a lost opportunity of them being able to capitalize on how cool venues can make a golf tournament.
I think it's a super fair point. I agree with that. Now that you've laid it out, I fully agree with that.
I'm going to go the opposite way here a little bit.
I like it.
And here's the only reason why.
I like it.
Let's look at other events that have been majors that have been hosted at golf courses that we play at every single year.
Okay.
Torrey. I get the golf course is way different than Quail Hollow, but they play it on tour. Pebble. They play it on tour. I get it's ultra unique, right? I'm probably picking some of the top golf courses there to cherry pick it that way.
Sure.
But yes, to a portion of what Rick is saying, right? Like, let's expand.
There's also, they host the Dunhill Links at the old course every year.
Yeah.
And it's still
Like,
awesome. So I agree with that.
Yes, I think that we need to broaden some of the golf courses we're going to play at, but at the same point in time, certain events just have worked well for what the PGA Tour and PGA have tried to do, right? USGA, obviously, there's the US Open's in a plethora of, hey, so-and-so is going to host it in 2012. They're going to host it again in 2036. They're going to host it again in 2056. Like, some of those sites have already been announced.
Right.
And they're 30 years away.
I understand. I think 2049, they've already locked it in.
Right? So they've already locked that in. Right? So
That's
there are some of these golf courses.
What am I going to be doing in 2049?
And some of these venues that are already locked in because they produce, right, great championships and everything like that. So I don't know. I think we let it, and it does kind of change. It's not like it's always here in Charlotte, right? But
yeah, I guess the question is Quail Hollow one of those that you're talking about? Like, do you feel like I understand the Pebbles and the Torreys, like those are just, yeah, those are Pebble and Torrey, but like I don't know if Quail Hollow is exactly that.
And Torrey, I wouldn't even say is that. Like, I think they should stop going to Torrey for the major championships. I think it's annoying to me because I see it every January. I get to see it. It's great. I think Pebble and like the old course stand out as like, yes, show them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I think those are exceptions. I just get like, I get a little bit annoyed. I'm trying to think of what other venues they do this with. I don't think they do it with a ton of them. But I just think it's a missed opportunity. There's so many cool courses they could go to. You know, I think the PGA Championship, I think we had this conversation a few years ago, but it'd be great if the PGA Championship just went exclusively with like munis, and they just were like the only venue that did like, then they would do Bethpage Black, Torrey Pines, truly like municipal courses owned and operated by like the city.
Yeah.
And like that would be like, let's go.
Call them the people's champ when they win.
A very,
That's
very
you get the
much,
people's champ.
Right.
That's pretty good.
You know, something a little bit different. But where and you know, you could go back to like this is now I'm taking over Frankie's role. I could argue against myself of the US Opens, because the USGA tried this over the last decade. They went to Chambers Bay, they went to Erin Hills.
Yep.
Right? And now since then they have gone back and they announced Pinehurst as an anchor site. And then they announced Shinnecock and Oakmont and Wingfoot are anchor sites. So it's like with every 5 to 8 years, they're going to return the US Open to like venues that you know that have held at this point 5, 7, 9 US Opens. Bang. That's the US Open venue. I know it, blah, blah, blah. Those 2 US Opens were not overly well received. Like Chambers Bay, our friend Gary Player is out there. I think he called it like the worst major championship in history. Our guy.
Yeah, a lot of players hated the grass.
It was,
right?
I mean,
it was like fescue grass.
Hated the conditions.
You got the Billy Horschel clip. You got all that
stuff. You had DJ 3-putt in the last hole, which like didn't help all those conversations, which is a bummer because Chambers Bay, have been out there. It's fucking unbelievable. And like they were trying to introduce the US Open to new venues. Erin Hills, we love Erin Hills. Love it to death. But remember they cut the fescue was like, Kevin Na, I think, was out in the fescue. Like, you couldn't even see him. He was bitching about the fescue. And then they cut it and made it a little bit wider and easier. And Brooks shot quite a few under par, and there was no wind blew, and people were like, this isn't a U.S. Open venue. I think Johnny Miller called it the Milwaukee Open that year when he said, yeah, 63, not bad for the Milwaukee Open. And like people were just like, you're comparing this to Oakmont? What are you, nuts? And so those two venues, when they did try to veer to like newer courses, different courses, did not work out overly well. People kind of didn't like it, which is a bummer because, again, I think it's such a cool opportunity. So, yeah, I don't know. When I see Quail Hollow, and I see it every year in May or whatever for the, there's a reason it's always called the Wells Fargo, and now it's called Truist. It's like those are banking institutions that are based out of around here. And that's a big part of the reason I think that they go back. And I just don't get the hype that I get when they go to Oakmont next month. I'm going to be so giddy. Just like you only get to see it every decade. And you're like, oh my God, it's Oakmont. Oh my God, it's so hard. Oh my God, the massacre at Oakmont, the massacres at Wingfoot. And now like there's this chance versus Quail Hollow. You're like, oh, it's a little bit souped up version of like what they do every year on tour. That's okay. Whatever.
I think ultimately what we're talking about and what we've been talking about for the last hour and a half is the search for an identity. Like the U.S. Open has an identity, so that's why you have those golf courses. Like that's why you keep going back to Oakmont and Wingfoot and Shinnecock, like because you have the identity. You're like, what golf courses fit this identity? And it's those. And that's the same with the Open Championship, not the British Open. And I just think the PGA Championship,
I call it the British Open.
The PGA Championship doesn't really have one. So you're kind of saying, let's try to make one.
Yes.
Like we're saying, oh, it should be match play. That's an identity. Maybe going to new courses, that's an identity. Like you're over and over and over again, that's what we're looking for is an identity. And the PGA Championship, for better or for worse, doesn't have one. We just like that it's up in the schedule now. That's not really an identity. That's just like a time of year and when we're paying attention to golf. An identity is very important for a major championship, and the PGA is kind of always searching for one, and that's it.
That's my take. I agree.
Yeah.
Another thing that annoyed me, I saw they put out like Xander Schauffele's menu for the Champions Dinner.
Yeah.
You can't be doing like like a worse version of a Champions Dinner than like the Masters does. Do like a brunch or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
like the PGA Championship brunch.
Or you do like your favorite activity. That's not golf.
Yeah, jet skiing afternoon.
Xander's he's renting a bunch of jet skis and everybody's going to do it.
What's the big lake down the street that all the NASCAR guys live on? Whatever that lake's called. Imagine Xander's done like a jet ski race at the lake.
Right. Like you can't do, like you're saying, another meal. You got to do something that's your favorite. What is it? Lake Norman?
Lake Norman.
Something that's your favorite that's not food.
Tubing contest out on Lake Norman.
Everybody goes on a hike. Everybody
is that the one El Prez caught the fish on a couple weeks ago? Lake Norman?
Was he on Lake Norman? Was Dave on Lake Norman?
They should have a fishing.
I can't believe he caught a fish.
Big angler guy. He's a big fishing guy.
Yeah, he's big into fishing.
Yeah, he's a big angler.
Yeah, no, you can't do. You're just like your little brother.
Yeah, totally.
You gotta do something else.
No, so that I agree. You're like I don't know. It's a Wanamaker throwing contest, so you can throw it the farthest.
Or you try to throw into it.
Ooh.
It's like a beer pong match.
Yeah.
Wanamaker beer pong.
Who can dunk?
There was somebody on tour that did claim that they know how many beers fit inside the Wanamaker trophy.
I know this. It's
Do you want to guess the player or do you want to guess how many beers?
I think I know the number, right? Is it 31 beers?
It's more than that.
Okay.
According to this player.
Is it really?
According to this player who's won it.
30, that's a lot of beers.
You want to guess the player or you want to guess the number?
Beef, how many beers have you taken down in your biggest sitting? Do you know?
Yeah, so I did an internship in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for
Unreal.
7 months. I was helping reopen a golf facility called Snake River Sporting Club. And when I came back, I went to the University of Wisconsin to party with some friends that weekend.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And let's just say Jackson Hole's at 6,000 feet elevation, so there is high altitude training. I want to say I took down like 34 beers.
Yeah.
And some jungle
I
juice.
just think I had heard that somewhere. That's why I asked.
And then did a whole jump around and watch the Badgers win. It was awesome.
God damn. Yeah, because I think Riggs may have asked somebody about before you jumped on board. They're like, "What's our guy Beef like?" And they're like, "Guy can take down a bunch of beers."
Yeah, if I ever get invited to do like the Yak Case race, my team's gonna win for sure.
Wow.
But
how many beers do you think fit inside of a frisbee?
Standard
frisbee.
Standard frisbee?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna say 5.
3?
You can fit 5 to 7 cans of beer.
All right, so that
Maybe somebody on this panel's had a frisbee full of beer before.
The reason I asked that is we had a friend back in St. Louis. It was this big like party trick thing.
Yeah.
As he would be like when you would arrive to his like pool party or whatever, he'd be like, like initiation for the party or whatever. Like you gotta do do this and then like chug a Frisbee full of beer, and you in your mind would be like, all right, it's a Frisbee. Like, how many could it be? And it was like 4 or 5 beers could fit inside of it.
That'll start your day.
I think it was like
fast.
4.5, actually.
What a good way to start the pool party, though.
Oh, dude.
Just take 4 beers.
It would
boom.
take you forever. You'd be like, how come this won't disappear from this
That's
Frisbee?
so crazy. All right, so give me the name of the player who knows the number.
Duff Daddy.
Okay. All right.
Duffner claims. You want to take a guess at this?
Jason Duffner?
Yeah.
How many beers fit
How many
inside the Watermaker
beers?
trophy?
Yep.
12-ounce cans.
Yep.
I'm going to say 46.
Very close. 43, I think, is the number he said.
Damn,
This was like 2013 or something like that. He claimed that there's 43 or 41 beers that fit inside the trophy.
That's a ton of liquid, man.
One of the all-time hot wags was Amanda Duffner.
Yeah, I had a big blogging run with them.
Those would do some numbers.
That was a big one, yeah.
I had a crush on her. I found her to be very attractive.
Yeah, they ended up getting a divorce.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe
Duffner had
so.
the whole internet meme of him Duffnering,
Yep.
right? That was a whole face thing that went on.
Yeah. That
He had
was
the-
a good one.
Big old lipper in when he won.
Funny guy. I think he was like a dry, funny fella.
Yeah, I think so too.
We were at an event with him at Kiz's event. I think he was there.
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah. Were we at Sage Valley?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was around the fall. So it was Georgia, whatever time of the year, football. And where did he go? Was he a Georgia guy? No.
Auburn.
It was like Auburn,
I think he's an
Georgia time.
Auburn guy.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it was like Auburn, Georgia time because I remember that was like all he cared about was the games were getting ready to heat up. So maybe he was watching his team, and they were rooting against Auburn. He was rooting against Georgia because they were all going to play in the future or something. I remember all that going on
Wow.
that night. But
Couple drinks. Hey, stuff happens. Walter Hagen actually one time lost the PGA Championship trophy.
Just like physically lost it.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah.
didn't lose it
So
in the
he-
tournament. He
the
just
big
lost
one to
it.
lose.
Yeah, so this was on his run or whatever in the 20s, and he wins the tournament, and he's out partying in Chicago,
Yeah.
and he told the cab driver to drop this back off at the hotel, and it just went missing for like 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
They
no
found
way.
it in Detroit at the place that made Walter Hagen's golf clubs, like locked up in the basement.
No way. See, I like a trophy like that has lore.
And then
That's got
since then, they
serious
just
lore.
leave the actual PGA Championship trophy at the PGA headquarters, and then obviously players get a replica, right? No different than Stanley Cup and some of those things, like when they go do the
Yeah.
tour all around.
They got a
Yeah.
replica.
You know, it's
But
not
they bring
actually
the
a
real
cup.
one out when you win.
Yes.
You're
But not,
kissing the
not
real
when you're
one.
having the day with the cup and you're taking it to Nova Scotia, Canada, and whatnot. That's a replica that you're taking.
Is that right?
Is that true?
I would assume so.
I don't know if
because
that's
I think
true.
they keep a replica in the Hall of Fame, and then you get the actual one. I think.
You think you get your one day with the actual
I think you
cup?
do.
I'd be pretty
want
upset
it.
if it was a replica.
Would you know?
Well, there's the guy. There's
No.
the keeper of the cup, which I know he's like a famous guy. Or
Yeah, the
at least he used to
double
be.
glove
Me and
guy,
Trent
white
have
glove
pictures
guy.
with him and with the cup.
Yeah, I think they get the real one. I hope they get the
You
real
think
one.
they get the real one just for the day?
Yeah.
Because the
I don't
keeper
think
guy
so.
is like the security. He doesn't just give it to you and he's like, I'll see you later. He's there.
He stays with it.
I guess that's true too. But
They wouldn't do that for a
would
replica.
would you do that though for that big of a trophy?
Absolutely. You need it
Just
to
hang
have-
out on
it
a
is real.
boat
He'll-
and be like,
our guy Brennan Jones behind the scenes looked
Jonesy
up.
says it's real. Your one day with the cup is the real cup.
Don't you think it has to be?
I just think like, hey, I don't know.
Gets a couple dents in it. You know, it is.
Oh,
what
that
it
thing's
is.
definitely been dented multiple times.
Yeah, it is what it is.
100%.
Yeah, super dented. Every day I make countless decisions, but one of the easiest and most important is securing my home with Simply Safe. The moment I arm my system, I know my family and everything I've worked for are protected. I've had Simply Safe in Pinehurst for years now. I got a lot of stuff in there that I absolutely love. A lot of cool memorabilia, things throughout the years, just a lot of functional stuff. And whenever I'm staying there with my friends and family, I would like to be safe. Simply Safe makes us safe.
Yeah, I know Frankie's a big Simple Safe user, and he's now got a baby at home to protect.
Huge.
I'm sure those people who are listening who've got families, young families, whatever it may be, you want to keep everybody safe. Simply Safe, they've got the cameras, they got the whole nine in terms of what you need to protect your home and your family. So you should do this. Protect everybody. Use Simply Safe. It's a great company, and they've been very loyal to us.
For years.
Yeah.
Which we love. With Simply Safe, millions of Americans enjoy the new standard in home security and greater peace of mind every time they arm their system when heading out in the morning or when locking up each night. Traditional security systems only take action after someone has already broken in. That is too late, my friends. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection can help prevent break-ins before they happen. Visit simplysafe.com/foreplay to claim 50% off a new system a professional monitoring plan, and get your first month free. That's 50% off and your first month free at simplysafe.com/foreplay. That's simplysafe.com/foreplay. There's no safe like Simply Safe. This golf season, are you looking for an easier way to get on the course? We've got you covered because the Barstool Golf Time app makes it easy for golfers to find the best tee times at the best prices. Stop searching all over Google for your next tee time or going through the hassle of calling courses. No offense, Beef. You used to work at a course where you get calls, but it's hassle-full to do that, you know?
Yeah, make it easy. Just book your tee times online.
Yeah, the good thing about it, you can obviously book tee times, but people leave reviews on golf courses. You never played a place before. Check it out, see what they're saying, see what the greens are like, see what it's just it's a community of people who play a lot of golf, who give their input on golf courses, and that's really all you can ask for. And you can book tee times through it.
And you can search multiple courses in your area from one app and get your tee time set within just seconds. With every action you take in the app, you also earn reward points, which can be redeemed for free merch in the Barstool store. This May, we have a huge promotion going on all month long. The promotion is the top 5 golfers who play the most rounds through Barstool Golf Time through May 31st will win a Barstool Chicago HQ Tour experience. Beef probably be there for that.
Tour the offices. It's a fantastic building.
Great.
Plus, one additional winner will be selected at random from all golfers who play at least one round through the app in the month of May.
That's great.
So our top five most rounds played through the Barstool Golf Time app through May 31st win. And then guess what? An additional person who just plays one round, bang, you're entered to win.
There you go.
Spring is finally here, so come golf with us. Download the Barstool Golf Time app today. Again, download the Barstool Golf Time app. Golfers going into this week. Some great storylines.
Okay.
The betting favorite now on DraftKings Sportsbook at plus 400, slightly ahead of Rory, is Scottie Scheffler. Scottie, I know, has not had quite the year that he had last year yet, but he has 6 top 10s. He has not finished worse than T25. His last start 2 weeks ago at the Byron Nelson, he won by 8. His PGA Championship results, the last 5, tied for 4th, tied for 8th, miscut, tied for 2nd, tied for 8th. So it's not like he's played poorly at the PGA Championship. Again, he's plus 400. The only major he has won is the Masters tournament. So the reason I bring that up is just, I think when he won his second Masters or when he won his second Players Championship, I really think he was able to get over the hump in those because he had this feeling down the stretch of house money, of like, I've won these events.
Yeah.
I just bring that up because he's never won the PGA. So I think those nerves of like trying to get it done for the first time are very different, and I think they exist inside of Scottie.
Was that just last year that he got arrested?
Last year, man.
We've lived 10 lifetimes. Literally. Yeah, that's interesting. I think, yeah, he's definitely, it's between him and Rory, obviously. I mean, that's just, they're the betting odds favorites, but I think he is a guy, and you might have mentioned a couple shows ago where like, yeah, he wants to win this. Like, you are so, there was so much talk about the career Grand Slam with Rory that like, yeah, it's great to have 2 Masters. It's obviously great to have 2 Masters. But you want to be in that group and you want to get that text from Tiger, you're only 25% of the way there.
Welcome to the club, kid.
You're 25% of the way there if you're Scottie Scheffler.
Right. You're 0 for 3 out of 4.
That's right.
You know? Like, you've got a long way to go.
I know he looks like he's 38, but he's 28. He's a young...
He's like Jim Furyk. He has looked like he's a dad age his whole life.
I think when he won his first Players, he was 26, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Huge jawline.
Just a big guy, like, carries himself like an adult, like a professional, and like, he's still really young, but he's going to want to start knocking these off now.
There is like Buzz Lightyear.
There is a player in the
Frankie
field,
once said that, and I think there's
he really does with the jaw.
Frankie actually said that a couple years ago, and he thought that might be the reason why Scottie wasn't responding to his text. But I think it's that he got a new number.
Turns out Scottie changed his number 100 times.
But there is a bit of that with him, yeah.
I think there's a player in the field this week, though, that needs the PGA Championship on his resume to complete the Grand Slam.
Yeah, there is.
Is it not Jordan Spieth?
Jordan Spieth.
Wow.
Could think about this scenario? Rory knocked off Augusta. Jordan Spieth could knock off PGA Championship. If somehow Phil can knock off the U.S. Open,
yeah,
it could just be a full year of guys completing their Grand Slams.
Do you want to talk about like how narratives are so different player to player? Everything going into the Masters was Rory. when are you going to do it? What's it going to take? What's the mental side again? What's your Thursday got to look like? People aren't talking about Jordan Spieth knocking off the career Grand Slam.
I love Jordan Spieth.
Yeah.
I've sat on this show a million times and said he is maybe the most interesting player out there. When he's contending, I think he finished like top 3 or 4 in the PIP the last time they had it, despite no wins and no real like phenomenal finishes. He's that much of just like a needle mover. Not an ounce of me thinks he's going to win the PGA Championship.
Do you have the odds pulled up by chance or no?
Yeah, no, I stopped at Morikawa, who was the 22 plus 2,200.
I mean, Spieth can't be very much up there or very high up there, but I would be curious to know.
Definitely got to be down the list.
You know, it's interesting. He's capable still of playing solid golf. He just makes a lot of mistakes. Like I look and he's like 600 for the tournament, and they pan to him and he's like putting for bogey from 8 feet or something. And I'm just like, I just feel like he does that a lot. Where you're
50
like
to 1.
50 to 1.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
Could be
he
some
must have
value.
been playing pretty solid golf to get to this number, but he's still 10 strokes back. But he's like 500 at a tough course. That's good golf.
It is so crazy though that all of that talk about Rory, all of it, and then he does it, and he goes on all the talk shows and he goes everywhere and he's like, "Wow, I did it." No talk about Jordan Spieth.
Dude, it's been 8 years since he's won a major, right? It was 2017. He won the
Yeah.
British.
So
or
now
the
he's
Open,
now that Rory's
No
got the
offense.
monkey off his back. Now Spieth is back in the limelight, and they've had completely different runs. Like Rory was always winning, always there, won a couple tour championships, won the big tournaments. Spieth has been nowhere. He's been in the wilderness. I know he got a win a couple years ago, but that's not the same.
It almost feels like if it was going to be a Jordan Spieth type of thing, it would have had to have happened 6 or 7 years ago.
I think Rory's going to win the Grand Slam again before Spieth or Phil win the career Grand Slam.
That was very rude, but it could
No,
be true.
I'm not. That's just a guess. I'm just saying.
Just win
The Spieth thing-
another slam before they do.
If he doesn't, that'd be crazy. If it doesn't happen for Spieth, like he's going to be one in like 15 years when he's 46 or whatever, 48. When it's like Jordan Spieth, he's back. He's still trying to create accomplish the career
He's
Grand
on
Slam.
a permanent comeback. He just never gets back. Like Spieth is coming back.
Yeah.
Hasn't it felt like that for? I mean, there was a down stretch there, but for 4 years, hasn't it felt like Spieth is like in a comeback?
Yeah, he's like the Cubs. We're just always rebuilding. We're getting there, right?
Because he won that.
He's
What did
just
he win?
gonna
The
get back.
Texas event like 3
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was like pretty solid in the President's Cup. Remember, it was like him and JT in the President's Cup here at Quail Hollow. And they were like teammates, kind of like lighting people up.
I have such a weird memory of him winning. I think it was his first tournament that he won because he was down for like 3 years or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in line to get my first COVID jab. Like that's when all that was going on. I was in like a huge convention
What'd you
center.
get? Which one did you get? Do you remember? Which jab?
I have no idea.
I got the Johnson
Convention
& Johnson.
Center in New York by the water.
I don't
What's
think it
that?
worked.
This
The
is
Javits
Javits
Center. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
standing in line at the Javits Center, just like waiting. Like the world was, we were almost like, it was like, oh my gosh, the world is coming back. But I remember watching on my phone Jordan Spieth win an event. That was just a very random memory. But listen, I'm pulling for Jordan, and he is one of the more interesting guys to ever pick up a golf club. So I hope he makes a run at it.
So do I. I love watching him play. I love watching
And it would
him
bring
play.
the numbers. He still got it in that way.
So he won the Valero Texas Open. That was 2021. And then 2022, I forgot, he had missed the cut at the Masters tournament and then won the RBC Heritage the next week.
Oh, wow.
Remember, he made that putt in a playoff against Patrick Cantlay.
That's right.
But that is 2 wins in the last 8 years Spieth has. And it was the Valero Texas Open and the RBC Heritage.
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking great. You don't have the momentum of like, oh my gosh, it could be Jordan Spieth week like it was in
I
Augusta.
would
But
love if Jordan Spieth won this. Shove all these clips down my throat. That would
Dude,
be great.
it would be. It's not as big as Rory, but it's still there's 6 people who won the career Grand Slam. We got a chance to get a 7th.
Yeah. You know how we kind of have to talk about in sports what Rory did? There's very few teams or individuals that like still have that hook to them of like if they get over the hump, it would be that big of a story.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Josh Allen and like the Bills.
Yes.
That would be a big one. One that I've really thought about, and you guys, you're not as big of a hockey guy, but you are, is if the Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup. They lost last night, so it's 2-2 now. But if they won the Stanley Cup, that would be in sports massive. Like, dude, the Maple Leafs had like only won one like playoff series in the last like 40 years or 30 years or whatever it's been. They have not had any success despite being probably the most scrutinized team in professional hockey by a mile. Like they get what the Yankees get, probably times like a couple in Toronto. Like
Okay.
every podcast, every radio show, everything breaks down everything that Maple Leafs do. It's a huge city, one of the biggest cities in North America, so they have a huge fan base. They're the original 6 franchise, and they just have been horrible when it comes to the playoffs forever. And if they won the Cup, dude, and no Canadian team has even won the Cup since 1993, I believe, was the Montreal Canadiens.
Yep, they're the last ones.
So it's
and you got
like,
Biz there as the ambassador. He's got his whole jacket on and everything like that.
Dude,
I do see that comes up on my timeline because I obviously follow Biz and all that.
But to relate more for trying to be like when the Cubs won the World Series, when the Red Sox broke the curse,
Got
right?
it.
Like that's how big this is for that franchise.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And they've always had the biggest names. They still have a big name, right? Like Austin Matthews is still one of the top 4 names in the NHL.
Sure. I know him.
And they just can't get over the
Baseball is obviously way bigger than hockey in the U.S., but that's I think like when the Cubs won for hockey and for like Canada, the Maple Leafs winning. Do you agree with that, Jonesy? Yeah, it would be.
He's saying yes.
It would be. He's nodding his head. Yes, it would be a massive deal. I think the biggest thing we could get in golf now, outside of like Tiger, would be if like Phil won the U.S. Open. That would be insane.
That would be the story of the year.
Yeah.
Would that be a bigger story than Rory winning the major this year?
Dude, it
the
might
Career
be.
Slam? If
might be.
Phil just one-ups him and wins the U.S. Open
I think
finally?
it might be.
It'd be right up there. It's, if not match, it could surpass. Yeah.
Dude.
Because he's so old. You know, he's got the wing foot history. Like it's.
Dude, he has finished second in the U.S. Open 6 times.
That's a real like mental block.
6
Feels
times.
like.
I did a whole podcast about it like 8 years ago.
I remember that.
6 times.
Yeah, hey. Always around
I mean, that
Day
would
weekend.
be huge. That would be huge.
He's what, 53 or
He's
4
now
years old now?
53, 54 probably.
He's bigger into YouTube than he is in actual golf.
Yeah.
He came out and won the U.S. Open, dude, which isn't, it's far-fetched, but him winning the PGA at Kiowa, that was like kind of like a U.S. Open course. Remember you had to drive it so well there?
The longest golf course they play, right?
That was
7,800 yards or
so
7,900
And
yards.
he went out there and fucking won the PGA not that long ago. That was nuts. But if you considered everything post-live, you know, post his like suspension, remember like after he won the PGA, he didn't play in like the Masters or the PGA the next year.
Yeah.
Like he was like, you know, he was like unceremoniously banned, but nobody ever said he was banned. And like for all that to have gone down, for him to have like reemerged how he has, partnered up with Grant, and they're like this YouTube 2-on-2 team, and then to win the U.S. Open and the Career Grand Slam would be insane.
It would be something. I would love to see that happen.
Give me the Hollywood endings. Give me Jordan Spieth this week.
Oh, would
We're
love it.
so hungry for it now that we got the Rory.
Give me the lefty for the
Feels
U.S.
like this
Open.
is the year, though, right? I mean, for big
It
names
is.
to win big tournaments.
You know what I want? Give me Rory wins by 9. He just wipes the floor with
Well,
everything.
he made some interesting comments. I don't know if you saw these where they asked him about like they're like, yeah, it seems like you kind of taking a step back from the live stuff, and you're not on the board anymore, and you know, and he was like, he essentially said, and I don't even think it's essentially, I think he said he's like, I don't care. He was like,
I loved that.
He was like, yeah, I mean, all I want to do is put up good scores, win tournaments, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And that to me fired me up to, we talked a lot after we won the Masters, like house money. Is he going to, you know, take his foot off the pedal, or is this just going to free him up to win a bunch of tournaments? Watching him answer that question made me think he might just win a bunch more this year.
It also fires me up to hear that because there's a little bit of like a fuck you attitude in that comment.
Yes.
Which Rory is the best. He's the best version of himself golf-wise when he has that attitude.
You're right.
By far.
We talked about that.
It was like the players. Remember when like the cell phone thing and media was like boiling, and what's he do? He goes out there with like this fuck you attitude and like wins the Players Championship. He kind of needs that fire. Like after he collapsed at the Masters in 2011 and then wins the next U.S. Open 2 months later by 8 shots. He needs that like fire.
He even said like, you know, there's all this back and forth about what's the Tour Championship going to be? How are they going to make it? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm not involved in any of that.
I don't care.
How great does that have to feel for him? He was in the fire for 2 years, still winning tournaments, still playing really well. But then he won the Masters, and I think he's just like, I don't care, man. I'm the guy. I want to be like I was when I was 16 years old, and I just want to put up awesome scores at awesome golf tournaments at awesome venues, and that's it.
Now it's his turn to just go scorched earth on everything, right? Like,
So
I'm betting Rory McIlroy.
Rory has won at Quail Hollow 4 times. He absolutely blitzed the field last year. It was him against Xander on Sunday, and he shot like a trillion under. He was 17 under at Quail Hollow at the Truist last year. Xander was 12 under, and then third place was 9 under. So he was 17 under, third place was 9 under. That's how much he kind of dominated this course last year. I mentioned it already off the top, but soft and wet conditions, very favorable to a Rory McIlroy type guy who flies the ball, carries the ball pretty much farther than anybody else and straighter than anybody else. So when you get into like dome golf type conditions, he can really blitz the field. It was Valhalla when he won the PGA Championship in 2014, where it was very, very soft with all the rain. They came up in the dark when Ricky and Phil were kind of like playing with Rory at the end while they're all finishing together. That was a rain-soaked Valhalla. It was a rain-soaked Congressional when Rory won there at the U.S. Open in 2011. So he is just a problem when it's really soft out there.
Yeah.
And that's probably what it's going to be. Rory's plus 450 on the DraftKings Sportsbook, so he's slightly higher odds than Scottie, but pretty similar. Still, speaking of house money, shout out to the DraftKings Sportsbook from the Masters tournament. Still just riding high.
Yeah.
You know, the bankroll's feeling good going into this PGA. So I really want to get it right. Did not get it right last year at the PGA. Bryson DeChambeau, plus 1,200. He's the third favorite in the field. His last 3 live events, he's gone first, second, fifth. He has in his last 5 major championships, I believe, gone tied for fifth, miscut at the British. It's not his kind of event. First, second, sixth. Those are his last 5 major championship starts. His last 2 PGA Championship starts, he finished second and then tied for fourth. So he's had a pretty damn good amount of success in this event. Valhalla, I feel like last year, is a very similar style of course to Quail Hollow this year.
Mm-hmm.
So just going off that, again, he finished second. He made that sweet putt on the 72nd hole, forced Xander to have to make birdie. So that was the last time he was in the PGA, and he played fucking great. And his last start, I believe, was a win on Liv. So he's playing pretty damn well.
Okay. Something to think about.
Jon Rahm is the 4th favorite in the field at plus 1,600. His starts this year on Liv, which again, Liv's, a little watered down when it comes to the comparisons, but still, they've got a good top, 15 or so players on Liv.
Yeah.
7th, 4th, 9th, 5th, 6th, 6th, 2nd. Those are his starts on Liv this year. His last 2 major championship starts were the Masters tournament. He finished tied for 14th. And then the Open Championship last year / British Open Championship, which is what they used to call it on the broadcast itself. He was tied for 7th at the Open Championship last summer.
He might be like a top 10 guy for me if we're talking DraftKings Sports.
Not quite the dub.
Not quite the dub, maybe even top 5, but I'd feel comfortable betting him top 10.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Xander is the next favorite. It's plus 1,600. Plus 1,800. Xander's last, he's not quite as sharp this year, but still his last 4 starts, tied for 11th, tied for 18th. He finished T8 at the Masters tournament, and then he had a tied for 12th before that. So he hasn't finished outside the top 18 in his last 4 starts, including a top 10 at the Masters. Not as sharp, but not out of it.
Yeah.
It's not like he's playing horrific golf. Ludwig is plus 2,200.
Interesting.
He finished 7th at the Masters, but he's had a really weird year. He had to withdraw due to the illness, and then won following it up at Torrey Pines, which is kind of a major championship type venue. He did finish 7th at the Masters tournament, but he was 60th last week, and the field was only like 70 players, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
He hasn't really been putting that well.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I've been looking at different stats and everything online. Just from within 10 feet, he's ranks in the very much lower half of putting. Just hasn't been able to roll the ball on that well.
All right.
I think he's got something going on all year. Hand thing.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
he's had a few missed cuts and then a few really good finishes. So Ludwig kind of in a weird spot, but you never know. At the Masters, again, he was 7th, and on that Sunday, he was kind of charging up the leaderboard a little bit. A huge name coming in, Justin Thomas, is plus 2,200 as well. JT's last 4 starts are tied for 2nd, 1st, tied for 38th at the Masters, and then 2nd, I believe, was at the Valspar. He's got 3 other top 10s this year. He's got 2 PGA Championship wins, including here at Quail Hollow in 2017. And he's playing about as good a golf as he's played in a long time.
Yeah, he could be a good pick.
He could be a very good pick this year, and he's coming off a 2nd place finish last week. So, again, he's playing really, really solid golf. Colin Morikawa is also plus 2,200, and those are the only names that I wrote down.
All right.
Well, just like when we started with the podcast, right? It's the best players in the field playing this week. It's still a major.
Yep.
It's still one that you get to put a big, big, big mark on your resume if you win.
Huge.
Huge mark on there.
Really big for Jordan.
As big as it gets. The biggest names, the brightest stage, championship level swings are lighting up Charlotte this week, and DraftKings Sportsbook is your front row seat to every thrilling moment. We are about to do a snake draft. We've each picked a winner, a top 20 finisher, and a prop bet from DraftKings Sportsbook for this week's PGA Championship. Make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code FORE. That's code FORE, F-O-R-E, to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours again. Bet $5 and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Snake draft.
How do we pick who goes first?
You can go first, Jim.
Okay. That made it easy. Oh, I put my phone down. Why did I do that? Okay. So snake draft, we can't overlap here. So you got to pick all individual bets on the DraftKings Sportsbook. So I'm going to go with my first pick. I'm going to go Rory to win at plus 450. I'm excited about Rory. I was excited about him for the Masters. That paid off, and I think we're talking about a freed up man here. So
I'm going to go second. That's the order that was determined by the gods, the golf gods.
Fair enough.
I like the Rory pick, as you know. I'm a huge Rory stan. Gun to my head, I might pick Rory to win this week, but I'm looking for a little value as well. So with the second pick in the snake draft win, two-time PGA winner, plus 2,200 is Justin Thomas.
That's a great one. I love that pick. As much as that is some serious value, and like you're saying, he can win this thing for sure. Been playing
also,
great.
Helps that he texted me and Frankie last week.
That put him up there in your book.
Big time.
Being like, this guy's going to win.
Big time.
Okay.
So
what were the odds again?
Plus 2,200 to win the tournament.
Great value.
I'll go third, I guess, in the snake draft here, but then
Then
I
you
get to
get
go
two
back
picks.
to back.
You get to go first.
You get two
back
picks.
to back. I'll take the Hollywood ending here. We're going to take Jordan Spieth to win the event to complete the career Grand Slam.
Amazing.
He's
love
at
that.
plus 5,000, and we're going to go top 20. I mean, the guy's only made top 10s on Live. Give me John Rahm
Okay.
to go top 20.
All right. And then who does it go back to you?
Me. My top 20 finisher, playing really solid golf. He's plus 160 to finish inside the top 20. I'm going to go Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry, everyone. He's coming off a second-place finish. Played well with the Masters tournament, and I just like him. So I'm going Shane Lowry, top 20, plus 160.
Okay. You took mine. I had John Rahm.
Oh,
So I'm gonna. You did.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go
Incredible.
top 20. I'm gonna go Hideki Matsuyama plus 135. I wanted a little value on this. You can go. I mean, you look on the DraftKings Sportsbook. There's a bunch of guys who obviously they think are gonna like Scottie, Rory, Bryson, Rahm, Xander, all those guys. But I wanted some plus money. So Hideki Matsuyama top 20 at the PGA Championship plus
How
135.
about he was my backup pick for top 20?
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like him this week.
Incredible.
He had a really good, third round or something last week? I think he shot like 63 or something.
There you
Third
go.
round. He played great golf.
So is it my pick again?
So it's you again, and then me, and then Beef.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So then for my prop for the week, 2 or more holes in one plus 850. Plus 850. So, a
Well,
couple
dude,
of guys jar it. Like,
Get
why
one
not?
early on Thursday.
You know what? We need an early
That's what
one.
I'm saying. Get one early.
So 2 or more holes in ones plus 850. Some value there, but it's a fun thing to root for.
All right, my prop bet, DraftKings Sportsbook. For the winner is going to bogey the 72nd hole.
Oh.
And on
Plus
a bogey.
150.
Ooh.
A bogey finish.
I like it.
Yep, I think
like
the
it.
winner's going to have like a 2 or 3 shot lead. The 18th hole is brutal.
Yeah.
There's the creek all up the left. I see him bailing out right, chopping it up near the green. Conservative little pitch, couple putts. That's a bogey. Plus
So
150.
you're hoping somebody has a lead. They got a built-in lead.
Or somebody could be one up, make bogey on the 72nd hole to go into a playoff, and then win in the playoff.
Very interesting. That'll be a stressful time for you.
Oh, boy.
That'll be a stressful time for you.
Oh, boy.
All right.
I'm
well,
gonna take one of the largest odds in the field probably here.
Okay.
We're gonna bet an individual player to make a hole in one.
I love it.
So not only is it gonna knock off a hole in one for you, Trent Ryan, but
You're picking a specific player to make a hole in one.
yes, I'm betting that Captain Keegan is gonna make a hole in one in this tournament.
Wow.
It's
great
only
bet.
a casual plus 14,000 odds.
Dude, he's been low key on fire with hole in ones. He got one at Tory. He got one somewhere else. Like every time I see a clip come out from a tournament, there's a good chance it's Keegan Bradley making a hole in one somewhere.
I can't remember where else he got one, but he's had a bunch. It feels like 2 this year. I like that a lot.
That'll be fun to watch, fun to follow.
Would
All
be
right. DraftKings Sportsbook, again, they've got $5. You bet just $5 and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Use the code FORE, F-O-R-E. Download that DraftKings Sportsbook app. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Couple things about the event last week. Shout out to Sepp Straka, second win of the year, his fourth PGA Tour win. Bummer for Dewey, who had the week off. I don't know exactly why, but he had a substitute caddy. Can't remember the guy's name, but the guy, withdrew from, I think, U.S. Open qualifying to caddy for Sepp at the last second because he got the call up. And then Sepp Straka won $3.6 million, which would lead you to believe that was a $360,000-ish payday for that fella. So that's it.
Shout out to my guy Tillery.
The Tillery gang.
Till gang, baby.
Till gang.
Another Sepp's a fucking horse.
Just a machine.
Yeah.
He is a horse out there. What a great finish. Very interesting finish with Shane Lowry. Shane Lowry, very lovable guy, but he's got some fire to him, Shane Lowry.
Definitely.
Some serious fire to him. You've seen it in some of the team events. You've seen it with him at the Masters tournament this year when his Saturday, I believe he finished with a couple bogeys late on Saturday's round at the Masters, was asked about Rory a couple times and was like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about Rory for 10 minutes. I'm trying to win this tournament.
Yeah.
And then he referenced the Colin Morikawa stuff and was like, it happened with Morikawa, Rory. I think we need more time. And then he walked off the set. He ignored the media on Sunday after he finished 2 bogeys in the last 3 holes to go from leading the tournament to losing to Sepp Straka by 2 shots, which included a 3-jack on the last hole. After that, he kind of buried his head in his hands while Sepp was putting out, clearly very, very rattled, which I don't mind at all. I saw an article, it was from like golf.com maybe, where they were doing the whole like, you owe it to the fans and all that, which I don't fully agree with. He's going to speak to the media like today, so it's not like a big deal.
Right.
But he did kind of blew off the media and was not happy with his finish. Shane Lowry.
Yeah. Fair.
Very understandable. Very, very understandable. On the opposite field event, Myrtle Beach, we didn't give it as much love this year because Alistair didn't play as well. He missed the cut. But Ryan Fox, I saw, he's a Kiwi, I believe, Ryan Fox. He is a New Zealander.
New Zealand.
A Kiwi.
A Kiwi, they call that.
Okay. I for a second, I was like, I forgot, where am I? I didn't know where I was.
Yeah. Not just a fruit.
You wouldn't.
I don't know what that was.
No reason for you to know that.
I was like, holy shit.
He's
a Kiwi.
I believe he's a Kiwi. And he chipped in a playoff.
Yeah.
To win the Myrtle Beach Classic. It's Ryan Fox's first win on tour. It gets you a lot of the perks that you get when you win on tour. You got a 2-year exemption, wins a bunch of money, and the whole deal. So he was so big shout out to Ryan Fox.
Yeah, that's huge. Big win.
Chip
nice
off
guy.
win. What a way to win.
Yeah, he is a nice guy.
Due to a back injury is why our friend Dewey was out.
All right, prayers up to Dewey, man. Love that guy.
You got to get that body back in shape there, Dewey. Get back out there. I was looking for him on the coverage. He's a very noticeable character out there, and I saw this scrawny guy come walking by, and I was like, who the fuck is that? It said Straka. I know. I hated that. So, but good for that other guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Happy for him. It's a little bit of money. I wonder if Dewey gets anything from that. Jeez, all right?
I'm sure. I might have broke my chair.
Oh, we're going to lose you.
Nope, we're good. We're good.
Oh, we're going to lose you for a second.
What you think you asked?
Dewey gets anything this week?
I think probably not. Maybe it doesn't seem fair, but or I don't know.
No,
gift certificate or
I bet he still gets something.
Okay.
Just a,
Gift certificate.
I mean, your player caddy thing is just such a huge thing. It was a fill-in, right? Obviously, the other gentleman pulled out of the U.S. Open qualifying to do this.
Yeah.
I guess the other question would be, would you pull out of a U.S. Open qualifier to go loop on the bag of somebody in a PGA Tour event?
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah, I would.
I think I would too, especially if it's like your buddy.
Sepp Straka.
Alistair's asked me to caddy a bunch out on the Corn Ferry Tour for him.
Oh.
You think you're ready for that?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a grind, though, I bet.
A grind.
It's like, it's all fun and games until it's like, oh, shit, man.
The real issue has actually been like scheduling and stuff.
Okay.
I would definitely consider doing it, but I think it's like pretty shitty. It sounds fun, but I think it turns from like fun to like this is a grind.
It turns into work real
Right.
quick.
Right. Especially if he's playing poorly and I'm like, you're playing poorly, I don't know.
Right.
He's going to go, yeah, Riggs, I know I'm playing poorly. I
like
get
shit
it. I'm
right
hitting
now.
the shots here.
Right. That might be the biggest thing. Is like,
hey, how about you try hitting the fucking fairway here? We're going to be. I came all the way down here for nothing. So, all right. How long have we been going? For a little while here? That's nice. That's nice. It's a major championship week. Come on.
I got a story that I want to tell from yesterday when I got into the Charlotte airport.
Wow.
So I traveled yesterday. I get into the Charlotte airport. I'm exhausted. We land at a part of the terminal that, like, the Charlotte airport, they must be building onto it.
Yeah, they've been redoing it the past couple of years. I was here
It's
in this
a
area
shit
like
show,
2 years ago.
It's a little bit of a shit show.
What about that walk from your gate to the baggage?
It was really
claim?
long. That's what I was just gonna say.
Oh,
We landed in like as far as you can land, and like it had to be a 15-minute walk. And I was like, is this ever gonna end? I just kept seeing the sign of like, it's this way, and I was like, when does this end?
dude, you thought you went the wrong way. I bet.
100%.
I did the same thing too.
Because it didn't have like, just didn't look like you were walking in an area that was like, this is the way to baggage
No,
claim.
there's no apparent signs that you're getting closer.
That's right.
It's like just the same shit.
So I landed at one of those, and I'm just walking forever. I'm already tired. I'm like, this sucks. Like I'm sweating by the time I'm like going down the escalator to get the baggage claim. I get the baggage claim. I wait there a little bit, whatever. My clubs come out. I grab them. I'm just like, I cannot. For me, when we travel, once I'm in the Uber to the hotel, I'm like, I made it.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of the oasis. I'm finally getting to the hotel. I'm done with the airport. I've done all the security. I've
You get
checked
to
my.
just sit there and do nothing.
I can just sit there. So I grab my golf bag. I throw it into the Uber. Whatever. We head to the hotel. I start getting a call on my phone from a Charlotte number, a number I don't know.
Oh no.
And I just like, I ignore it because I don't pick up numbers that I don't
No,
know.
of
So I'm
course
just
not.
like, whatever, I ignore it. We keep going. We're driving in the Uber. Number keeps calling me. So finally, I'm like, all right, I'll pick it up. I pick it up. They say, hey, this is Delta luggage service at the Charlotte airport. You grabbed the wrong golf bag from the carousel. And I look back, and it's my bag. It's a Barstool Golf travel bag.
Yeah.
It's beat to hell because, you know, we travel so much. I'm like, this is mine. I'm like, I don't know. I'll check. I unzip it. It's not my bag.
Oh wow.
Not my Barstool Golf travel bag. So they're like, you got to come back. This guy's waiting for it. And I'm like, I'm stunned because I'm like, this is my bag.
You're like, bro, these are my clubs now. Those are your clubs.
Because I mean, listen, we all have I have the Barstool Golf bag. Like, I know that we sell them, but I'm like, I just grabbed it and I left because I'm like, I'm ready to get to this hotel. Not my club. So I got to turn this Uber around, go back to the airport. The whole time I'm going back, the luggage service is calling me, being like, this person's waiting here. You got to get back here. So I'm like, I'm going to get back there. This guy's going to hate me. He's going to be like, bro, you made me lose 30 minutes of my day. So I'm nervous about that. Pull up, get back to the airport. I get out. I go back to the luggage claim. I turn the corner. I see two guys. And as soon as they see me, they're kind of like, oh, they just sort of give the look like, oh, there's Trent. Like, and then it clicks with them. They're like, no fucking way.
Trent
dude.
that stole our bag.
No way.
Trent
It
stole
was
our
Trent
bag.
that stole our bag. And I get over there. I put the bags next to each other. They're identical, as you would imagine.
Oh,
And the guys were super cool about it, super nice. But and we took a picture. He put it on his Instagram.
amazing.
But I was like, it was really a surreal moment of like, the bags just looked like the same carousel, same baggage claim.
I've never looked at my like tag.
Grabbed it and went. I was like, let's go. This
You guys
is
are on the
mine.
same flight
Must have been, or I guess there were a bunch of flights on that
the
carousel.
same one. That's insane.
But the guys couldn't have been nicer. They were like, this is like, it made they're doing a golf trip. I think the guy's name is Taylor. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but they're down here for a buddy's trip. Like, they were like, this is the best start to a buddy's trip we can imagine. We took a picture. But I was just like, that moment in the Uber when they were like, you have the wrong golf bag. And I looked back and I was like, well, that's clearly mine. And then to open it up and have it not be mine, like it blew my mind.
Dude,
What a
knowing you, I am stunned. You didn't just roll the window down and throw your phone out the window at that point. And be like, nope, I'm not dealing with that.
I
That's
just couldn't
over.
believe it. And then as you look at it closer, there's marking. Like mine's beat to shit.
Yeah.
That thing's been all over the world, but it just never clicked with me that it wouldn't be mine. And then, yeah, the guys were super cool about it. And but it was just a really surreal thing that happened to me yesterday.
I don't know if I've told this, but one time I remember coming back from a quick like golf weekend. I think it was when we went to Stream Song with like Lurch like 9 years ago. And we came back and we're a little hungover. It's Sunday night. We had played that day. We're exhausted. And like get back to New York. We were living in New York at the time. Get off the plane. Get back. Get my stuff. Get in an Uber. When I get in the Uber, I open up my backpack to pull out my computer to like do something. And no computer. And I immediately go all the way back. And I know I left it in the seat back compartment on the plane.
Oh.
And this is right when I hopped in the Uber. So I'm like, oh my God. And I have to have my laptop at this point. This is when we were laptop guys.
For sure, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And dude, and I panicked. I jumped out of the Uber. I said, I'll see you guys back in the place. I got to go. And dude, one of the great miracles of all time was it had been the last flight of the day. So I went straight to the baggage people who sent me up to the counter people that were like at the check-in. And the counter people, the check-in, radioed to the counter people at the plane that was like, had just deplaned And since it was the last flight of the day, they weren't like putting people on it, nothing. It was just people that were on there cleaning.
Got
So I
it.
gave them my seat number, pulled out my ticket, gave them my seat number. Somebody was cleaning, checked it, grabbed it, handed it to the person.
Wow.
And within like 10 minutes, somebody brought it up and handed it to me. And I did like an ID check thing, had my laptop. Cost me like maybe 30 minutes total.
That's unreal.
It was insane.
Yeah,
and they
because
were
that
like,
could be a whole, you might not see that thing for 6 months.
They were like, if this was the last flight of the day, no one would ever be able to track that laptop
Right,
down under any circumstances.
Yeah, no, dude, we can wrap up here, but something I did recently too. We travel so much, we're going to make mistakes. I was waiting in the gate for the plane to board. I've got my backpack and I've got my roller bag that I always have. And whatever they call my zone, I get on the plane and I realize that I just walked away from my roller.
Yeah, I've done that.
And I'm just like, what do I do now? And I just ran out there, and they don't fuck around. They don't like that. They're like, whoa, whoa. Where are you going? You're going to try to get off and then get back on? Like, what's your deal?
Yep.
And there were people who were like, yeah, that idiot we watched you walk away from it. And I was like, I know I'm an idiot. But they let me grab it and take it on. But I've noticed more and more, I mean, we travel so much that like I'm starting getting to the point where like for the first 3 or 4 years, I was so on my P's and Q's that I was just like, nothing ever really went wrong. Now I'm just sort of a ghost walking through airports where I'm like, oh, I'm in Atlanta again. Oh, where am I? I'm where? It's like
Groundhog's Day.
I just sort of I'm starting to just forget things. So
I believe I left just a whole suit in an overhead compartment one time and just chalked it up. That's just gone.
That's gone.
I had to
just
go.
let that suit go.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, there's no, because it was like a half hour later and I had left the airport and it was middle of the day. So I was like, nope, that thing. I don't even want to start the process of trying to locate that.
Somebody just got nice.
It was like the end of the
38
trip.
long.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was like so I'd already used the suit for whatever I needed it for. I was like, gone.
Dana Pierce tweeted recently that he brought all of his luggage on, he put it in the overhead compartment, and then forgot it was there and just walked. And by the time he realized it, he was getting into the Uber, and he was like, what am I going to do? I got to go back in and get that bag now. So people make mistakes, but...
Well, it is like, dude, think about how many times you walk out of your home and you forget something.
All the time.
Every time, maybe?
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time. So how, of course, you're going to walk off of an airplane and just forget something. It happens all the time.
Yeah. No, that grabbing the wrong golf bag that looked exactly like mine yesterday was, I'm glad the guys are super cool about it because I felt really bad, but I was just like, man, that broke my brain.
Dude, I had one the other day too. I did the old, like, I dropped on the plane, sitting in my seat, dropped my AirPods, and they landed and shot backwards in different directions. And I didn't even try to get them for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
I just sat there and was just like, this is going to fucking suck. Like, I'm going to have to crawl my hands and knees back there. People are like sleeping and they could have gone anywhere. And I have the cool Techniques ones that are like dark blue.
Yeah.
So they blend into the carpet on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
The dark gray carpet.
Yeah.
So you can't see them, dude. It took me like 20 minutes to get them back. I'm walking around. It looks like I'm looking at people's crotches. I'm like,
what are you working with? What's going on?
It was either that or the cleaning staff sucks it up in the vacuum and you're like, yeah, those are mine.
Dude, it was like
mine
mid-flight and I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't watch anything.
So bad.
And I just was like, oh, this is such a zero. I remember being like, one of my options, I was like, I'm just going to sit here while everybody gets off the plane and just wait for people to walk by. And then I'm going to give it maybe 5 rows and then go back and start looking. But no, mid-flight, I kind of started crawling around. One had like hit some lady's shoes. Of
course.
I got it. You know, it's the whole thing.
Airports, man. Traveling, it's a grind. It is what it is.
All right, Major Championship week. Let's go. Next show, I'm going to, we'll tweet out who we're actually picking to win. Are you going Rory?
I think I'm going to go Rory for all the reasons, but I just think he's so relaxed that, yeah, I think he's my pick.
Sure, Chasing Greens will be back, although I think Kirk replaced me due to the Internet Invitational drama.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a real replacing or a funny replacing.
Okay.
So I might not be on Chasing Greens, the show that I founded with Kirk, but usually we do that on Wednesday of major weeks, do our picks, and we've been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that. Chasing Greens, sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Otherwise, enjoy the week. Let's hope for good weather. It looks like okay right now.
It does look like the rain stopped.
Yeah, so let's hope for good weather, and we'll be back on Thursday. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.